All right, Jason, here we go. This is what the people have been waiting for. It's the Clash for Cash. It's the Deadlock Fight Night money match. This time it's going to be Virtus.pro taking on One Win Team. Curious to see who comes out on top. One Win Team have played a very unconventional style compared to most of what teams have been drafting in the last 2 weeks.
It took Virtus.pro 4 weeks to take down One Win when we saw One Win have their own reign of supremacy over here in DFN just a few weeks ago. I'm curious, can they stop them from taking that throne back once again here? Because honestly, Virtus.pro are always going to be the top team in EU in my eyes when it comes to the game at the moment. The patches don't really affect them too much because they can still adapt. They have the flexibility across the board. The ball is in the court of One Win at the moment because they have fallen off since their reign. And what they showed wasn't horrible in the last game. But we still have to wonder if that one Reju fight didn't happen, would things have played out the same way? And we're eventually going to get our answer here as they go up against VP.
Yeah, to discuss that very issue, let's bring in ZP, our analyst, for this first match in the series. Curious, ZP, how do you think these two teams stack up? Who do you think is going to be our favorite? Is it VP, the defenders, or do you think One Win Team are going to come back and reassert themselves as champs?
Look, I think One Win Team is going to make a very good showing of it because, again, when you stop and think about when the balance of power in EU shifted, it was back over when we had, a major patch change that nerfed heroes like Pocket, and you won the tournaments like One Win Bombshell, where, I mean, VP just had a way better read, and I think, One Win as a team was valuing the wrong things. Now, I mean, one thing history has shown in Deadlock is that the teams on top, especially in EU, when they've been kicked down for a while and they really have to just kind of look inside and go, okay, we have to change how we're thinking about the game, oftentimes they'll come back stronger. So I think if you're One Win here, you've had plenty of time to kind of evaluate what VP is doing well, plenty of time to look at the patch and, how to play on it. I think some things for them still work pretty well if they want to play it, like should they decide to draft Yamato? They didn't have it in the last map, but maybe again the next one. I think also when you think about comfort heroes for them, the fact that Wraith is back into the top level is like really good for players like Empty Dreams that used to play it all the time. So to me, I feel like this meta is better for One Win than the meta that we just left. And I think it's a decent chance that they'll be able to take a real fight to VP here today.
I think I like their odds. However, I just hope that they do just a little bit more team fighting in the draft. I am scared of the way that last game started. And I mean, honestly, you think a lot back to the laning phase. ABL and Xenia were able to kind of dominate their lane on the Calico Viscus and then able to stabilize the game. But the other two lanes got really heavily pressured at the start of the game and were looking to be like real trouble spots for them. And so the fact that they had like a blowout in that left side lane enabled them to really get back into the game and to really, stabilize. Then some of the team fighting became a bigger problem for them. Virtus.pro, though, there's a reason that the champions, there's a reason they've been on top so many times in Deadlock Fight Night Europe. Across the board, a lot of very strong players. Michaelis, I think one of the most confident top tier players since the beginning of DFN. Obikim has been one of the strongest on support across the board. If he gets the signature Kelvin, you're in for a bad time on the opposing side. And Zergi, I think, is in a pretty sweet spot this patch, able to potentially bring back the Wraith into the play and see if it gets to see the light of day. I'm also curious, Virtus.pro has been a team that has loved something like Geist and Abrams. Geist went untouched last series. I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think Geist is dead? Or I mean, it's surprising to see Geist unpicked, unbanned in an entire draft with how consistent this hero has been at the top level.
Yeah, for a second, I thought Jason was going to jump in, but I was going to say on this one, for Geist, I was surprised because that's exactly, it's funny you say that because I was double checking. It's like, wait, I'm looking at the heroes last game. It's like, I don't think Geist was banned in the last game, which is wild to me that she was also not picked given what people are playing. I mean, I think maybe a reason as to why you didn't see Geist was the idea that, maybe it was the fact that like heroes like Warden and Yamato are higher priority. But even still, when you think about the composition that One Win ended up playing, it wasn't a particularly tanky team. I mean, you had ABL on the Calico, but Calico wasn't even getting vitality items until the very end of the game. It was pure on more assassin Calico build with way more gun items, way more spirit items, and fortitude and unstoppable being added at the very end. So it's kind of interesting where I do wonder if maybe some teams now are going to devalue the front line a little bit. But it's weird to me because I feel like Geist is even better post-patch with the fact that most people have more HP, and of course swap is entirely based around it. The only thing I can think of is if teams have really gone around like using counterspell or some of the new items to sort of mess with the reliability of swap.
That's a great point. Maybe counterspell changes the prio.
They did also change her Malice, her 3, to be more percent health based. It's like 8% instead of 6%. So it kind of nerfs her a little bit indirectly in terms of like the raw output you can put out in damage. But yeah, I do kind of wonder where did Geist necessarily go from last game till this one. Maybe we'll see being picked up this time. I know one person that's gonna be extremely happy to not see Geist, though, of course, will be Zergy. I know you mentioned, Jake, that he finally gets to play Wraith again. I think he's just happy to not be playing Geist anymore, or maybe a Gun Ivy, as he gets to play more of the heroes he's known for. I'm more curious about, like, will we see 7 actually be picked up a bit more? Because Lightning Scroll on 7 is ridiculous. Lightning Scroll unstoppable, and you are just like a stun bot for your team that no one can really escape from. It's really hard to stay away from him, and then your team can just completely wipe over them. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see Zergy on a 7 today, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I know ZP, you're saying you think Woman can put up a really good show in a VP. I want to hope so. But I'm also scared to see how good Virtus.pro can be after having more than one scrim before going into DFN last week, because all the teams were on breaks.
Yeah, I think VP have historically been one of the better teams when it comes to innovating and finding the best new strategies. I think that bodes well for them, especially in a meta that seems to have a lot of team fighting and a lot of objective gameplay. One win team, though, I mean, you never write them off, right? With the threat of just the individual mechanics. Like we saw once they got that lead last game, they were just crushing. Like they really adapted through the game. They're like, okay, we got like 5-man black hole once or twice, and we just didn't let it happen again. From there, we're baiting out those key team fight ultimates with 1 or 2 players. We're saving them, and then everyone else is coming in to turn those fights around and to be able to trade back and outlast. Also, I think Flammable really looked great on the Sinclair, which is something that not every team is as confident. I think pulling out the Sinclair, something we might see more and more of, though, with all these powerful ultis, especially Warden coming back into the mix, being a popular choice.
Well, also speaking of things coming back to the mix too, I think the one thing that really helped one win there is the idea of like Calico may be back with the new build that ABL was doing, where it felt like Calico had a lot of her offensive power nerfed over time prior to the item patch now, and now you can sort of compensate by that by just building a Calico that's all in on offensive output. Items like Backstabber I think are also really, really good for how Calico seems to want to play. And I mean, you go back and you look at the stats of the last game, not only did the eye test look like ABL was just everywhere and getting a lot done, but you also look at the damage that was being put out. The specific build and ramp that ABL was using actually made Calico way scarier than she was last patch, and that was a hero that one win really did use even more than the norm relative to other teams. So that hero being good, Wraith being good, I think one win got some old friends back here as far as hero power goes.
Return to my training.
Shiv, Wraith,
Shiv.
Abrams, all available.
Yeah, this is a tough call because if you don't take Shiv or Kelvin, you give the Shiv Kelvin combo to one win. I feel like you almost have to draft Shiv right now. I think it's just too much to give up Shiv. For me, looks like maybe the best hero in the patch. But one win team are going to get something very powerful. Maybe it'll be the Abrams plus Kelvin combo in response.
So you need a monster hunter, huh?
Abrams Wraith for one win.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think you need to take Kelvin, though, actually. I think you can't give Kelvin to the Shiv team. So
I don't want to see them give away Wraith to Zergy, to be honest, if that's like the hero he's going to be going for.
There's a lot of prios now. Now you got to make Abrams. I think for me, like Kelvin, you just must give. I think Shiv Kelvin is too insane right now. But then I think it's like Abrams or Wraith as the second.
I can take whatever they throw at me.
Yeah, I mean,
Abrams,
I'll go a step forward on what Jake's saying here. I would have expected Kelvin into Wraith here. But I think the fact they went Abrams, I tend to agree that you can't give up the Kelvin in this circumstance. So it's probably Abrams Kelvin, which by the way is still a pretty good lane in and of itself, but it's problematic because you are giving up the Wraith 100% on the turn the VP.
I also think, well, I mean, these are good heroes against Wraith too. If you do go the Abrams Kelvin, want to see if that is okay. They're going to go Paradox, so you're giving up Kelvin Wraith. You really value the Paradox here. I think Paradox is super good, but like Holiday looked fine last game. I don't think that Paradox versus Holiday was like the defining factor of the game by any stretch of the imagination. And I think I'm worried about them because I would have thought, okay, like you can't, like you needed, Kelvin is pretty good with Abrams too. You can like continue to buff him up and make him even tankier. But Virtus.pro are going to have a very solid first 3 here. Yeah, the Kelvin comes first, kind of a no-brainer. And then I would imagine Wraith goes here. Is there anything else you guys are considering as like a possibility? Yamato, maybe?
I mean, there is a world where you're kind of worried that you're not going to have any initiate, like a Holiday, because she could get banned in the turn, in the second ban phase. But I also don't think necessarily need it. I think give Zergy Wraith and you have like a guaranteed win locked in for
Hello,
yourself.
darlings.
Calico.
Okay, they go with the Calico.
Oh.
Interesting. So they saw last game. They said, okay. I mean, the box running in the like mid-game snowballing potential is pretty scary from Calico. For one win team though, this does allow them to potentially secure the Wraith. I wonder though, VP. I think one thing I've seen is maybe a problem for Wraith is if you have a draft from the other team that is like fully running you down and just like inting on you first, it's like pretty hard to play Wraith. You need some stability, and a team comp that doesn't give that to you could be a problem. They are going to still pick it up. I don't dislike the pick at all, but I think VP have the start of a draft that can be kind of hyper aggressive. With so far, Calico and Shiv can both hard frontline initiate. Kelvin backs them up. I mean, you can just keep doubling down on that draft here for VP. For one, maybe the holiday ban.
Ban Holiday and ban Ivy.
And also, though, in return from VP, I think VP here probably goes to ban Yamato if they consider it a threat and a good hero. So yeah, the Holiday's gonna come in from 1 win, and that makes a lot of sense. Where
I actually like the Dynamo ban.
You've paid such a high price to get good initiate here in terms of what you've given up by giving up the Shiv Kelvin lane, and you've lost the Calico. I think VP probably comes in here, and I think there's a world where they ban the Yamato, because if you think about ABL's hero pool, like what do you want ABL to play here? A lot of times for ABL, Calico, Yamato, two of the most played. And ABL, I mean, also can play things like Pocket and is a pretty versatile player. But instead, okay, they take away the Sinclair. So I think for 1 win here, you can grab Yamato and you're actually feeling reasonably good about the way this has gone about here so far. And, you know, I guess the interesting thing is going to be a Sinclair band. You're going to have to go a different route as far as support goes.
I think VP can take Dynamo here. I think it's actually really good if they take it. I think Wendman should take Dynamo maybe right now. But they're going to go with the Viscous because I don't think the Dynamo is their style as a team. I'm not surprised to see the Viscous picked. I guess this does make it a little bit more awkward now to go for the Dynamo with the threat of the cube save. Kind of annoying. I guess there's some potential responses to the Dynamo ulti. Maybe you don't really want to. I just think it's good against what VP are running with. Like so far, they're very focused on grouping up. Maybe the Yamato is a more straightforward pick though, just like countering the Wraith stun, you know, surviving Abrams initiates.
I want to see what's Zergy going to be playing in this lineup because he hasn't been picked yet. He has such a big front line that I feel like 7 would be ultra safe for him to play, especially if you go into Unstoppable with Lightning Scroll in this kind of composition, because you're not going to be the one to be focused down. And you also apply a lot of extra damage for Shiv to get those finishes. So I'm assuming that, and then I don't know what else they round things out with. I mean, a Geist and a
Flash maybe. Okay, they get the Dynamo. Interesting.
That's a lot of healing. That is a lot of healing they're gonna have on their team.
I do like this actually. I think this makes the early game objectives insane. Average Jonas, shout out the raid, 200 viewers. Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, and okay, you look here at the Dynamo. I mean, this to me, when you look at the itemization that's been going on and sort of the idea here, I feel like teams are warming up to the idea that stacking more healing is actually kind of good in Deadlock at the moment. And, you know, I think the first thing to fall is like, oh, wait, we have an Infernus that's doing Health Nova, and we have double Health Nova in 2 different lanes on 2 different teams. And now it's like, oh, actually, we go Dynamo, we go Kelvin, you stack even more healing. 1 win team by comparison, they're still going to grab an Ivy because they see it as good. Now, the final pick is going to be interesting here because I'm still wondering what ABL is going to play. I think there's still a world where they could put ABL on the Abrams if that's where they're going to put it on. But to me, for VP, like going with the Yamato on top, okay, they're putting him maybe on the Pocket. They have multiple Pocket players, but it would make sense for
Pocket's
the rest
fair,
of the
though,
1 wins ground.
because if you're going to go up against this much healing, that would be the perfect pick actually to take against them. Because I was going to say, if you have 2 healing tempos like for Kelvin and Dynamo, that's going to be a very fast and very high damage team coming your way. But the Pocket, you're going to need some really sick afflictions to deny the amount of healing that Virtus.pro can do.
I got you.
Oh, it's the Infernus. They just grabbed the Zergy hero last. You know, I see the vision here, I guess, for Infernus to be able to damage through something like Goo Ball. Infernus is for me one of the better counters. If you go like all in single target, you can actually threaten to kill Viscous when he rolls in, which is pretty big. Not many heroes have the single target threat for that. The team fight's massive. Like the wombo combos are unreal with like Infernus ult, Dynamo ult, Kelvin. You know, fighting into this team is going to be very scary for VP. 1 win team are going to have to rely a lot on, I think, Abrams having a particularly big game. But even Abrams kind of scary, right? Like your ulti does give unstoppable, but if you're getting Black Hole, are you really going to like cast ulti right at the start of the team fight? Like you kind of want to save it for the dynamic playmaking. And even Abrams, I'm not super convinced can survive like a black hole with the full team focus fire, especially with Infernus and Shiv.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm looking at here, it's going to be interesting because I definitely feel like the early, the mid game for one win team, once you get, I think you almost have to like separate the early game into multiple phases here. The very early game, pre-ultimate, is very scary for VP, given the fact that you secured like the Shiv Kelvin lane. I think Calco and Yamato, especially when Yamato goes early express shot, is all terrifying. But then once you get ults into play, we've seen how Pocket with Affliction can still like be a really big threat for First Guardian. Once you get the first Affliction cast off, obviously you get Wraith and Paradox, who are way stronger at 3k soul spike. So you almost have to break this into parts here, where like the very first 3 to 4 minutes of the game are horrifying if you're one win team, but then all of a sudden you get like a whole bunch of power in turn, and probably with your ults have more control of something like, you know, 7 to about 12 if you don't lose the first 3 to 4 minutes super hard. So to me, the early mid game is so fascinating here.
I just think this is such a scary game with the amount of frontline damage dealing from VP. They have 3 heavy frontline damage dealing cores, and then Dynamo and Kelvin can always come in and just blow these team fights out of the water if there's any sort of overcommitment from one win team trying to burst the Shiv, the Yamato, the Calico. And if you don't try to kill them, then well, you're in another world of hurt. So kind of liking what we see from VP so far. Jason, what do you think about the draft? Looking at the lanes as well.
Well, the lanes aren't necessarily how we maybe expect them to play out, as we heard ZP talking about maybe putting the Yamato and Calico and mid together to be just overpowering, overwhelming. They're going to give a lot of sustain over to, I think, yeah, Listic going to be on the Yamato in the mid lane. I mean, the Kelvin Shiv. Yeah, we're going to see that, and that's going to be very hard to deal with for a woman, especially when you're going to be under a lot of pressure from the combo in your face. I think a lot of that comes down to the Ivy player, which I think should be flammable, and be able to hit those stone forms at the right time to deny any sort of kill potential coming through. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with a lot of things that, you know, ZP was saying. I think the one saving grace for one win is going to be that left-hand side lane, though. Abrams Viscus can be pretty damn deadly, to be honest, if you get a nice puddle punch into a charge.
Big connections now in the mid lane. Skills being traded. Both teams taking a lot of damage. Yamato, I think, has looked very solid in the mid lane. The ability to spam those right clicks out from high ground. But so too can Pocket and Paradox really continue to poke back. This is the lane I'm most worried about, though, and it's Michaelas on Shiv too. This is something we've seen him play not so much, but I think he's actually insane on this hero, and I think it's absolutely like a game carry potential hero. Something you're gonna have to be very scared about here for a one-win team. It's not just the lane. Like if he gets off to a hot start and starts snowballing, if he gets an early center sack, like Shiv getting out of control for me is the scariest, really the scariest thing in the game.
Oh, speaking of scary, Listic. Oh, what? I don't know how he actually gets that kill. He does not escape from it, though. He falls down to Overseas, just unfortunate, but still gets a trade 1-for-1 nonetheless. And the box running has already began as well here on the map.
Yeah, it looks like Infernus pushing away Abrams, who maybe stole some of those early box spawns. It's interesting at this level, like the teams are like preemptively going to some of the key box spawns around the lane and trying to break them like right as they spawn on 2 minutes. So already players have really adapted and are really valuing that greed threat, because I was trying to steal some creeps here. This would be a nice little grab in the early game. Oh, doesn't want
to... Wants to confirm it.
Yeah.
Waiting for the cards to come through. I mean, Michaelis plays a ton of Shiv as well when it comes to his own streams. He's definitely proficient at it, and that's use the word lightly. He's very good at Shiv, and you're going to see definitely a dive come in under this tower when they hit their ultimates online, especially if they continue to poke through. And even, I mean, over towards the mid lane, you can see that Listic and Demov are still able to be so aggressive. The only lane that's actually across the halfway point is going to be that Xenon and the Zanya lane. Has actually a fight in the jungle. Obikim gets caught out, I think, trying to go for a box run himself.
Yeah, Obikim got punished, but probably got a little bit of theft off there. Shiv just going to get the solo lane farm for a minute. Not probably too upset about that. And Yamato, once again, is hard rushing the express shot from Listic. So he's really trying to get that 3K. And that's going to just completely explode in terms of the poke threat on this mid lane. That's when I think you're really going to have to be worried. It's also going to likely be pretty synced up with the timing of their ultimates. So definitely have my eyes on this mid lane. Still, though, Soul's quite even between the two teams. No real advantage.
You see the confidence out of Listic, too. Nobody can get that aggressive. You know, a lot of pressure on Empty Dreams. On the stint we saw with one win up against Paravision at best of 5, I think it was 100% win rate for Pocket across all 5 maps, and Empty Dreams, when he got hands on it, definitely was one of the keys to victory for them. But Pocket, I mean, he's not as strong anymore as he was previously. I know, like, watching Ido stream gets very frustrated at kind of how weak Pocket is compared to like a playmaker like Yamato. But let's see if he can make it work here in this game, because he's going to need to against the comp that Virtus.pro has.
Early headhunter for Shiv. Shiv is incredibly low, taking a lot of spam as well. Kelvin has died twice now in this lane, so it's kind of a long way off the ultimate. And Michaelis doesn't really have the HP to fight, but that heal from Kelvin pretty big. Now he's going to try and turn this around. Gets that headhunter proc off. They do some big damage, forces the Ivy ult and the retreat. And this lane's now about to get scary, right? Now that Kelvin has that heal build, that's when really you're going to see Michaelis able to double down on the aggression. The fact that he runs headhunter as well, he's kind of all in on dealing that damage, using the sustain from Kelvin to be greedier with the item builds.
Health Nova into frost grenades, just ridiculous. It looks like the first guard in the game might be going down on this left-hand side, as we pointed out before. The Infernus, Calico lane not being too strong in the early stages. There makes me a catch on a shark.
Oh, he's 1 HP.
Zanya gets it.
He might get traded though. What?
Oh
my god.
The cube.
He's back. He's good. Don't worry about it. Okay, but that's actually lucky. I think Xenia only lives because of that bug. I have not seen that before. Beta game.
I'm gonna light them up.
Did he just get squeezed out of the map?
Got smushed, bro. That's the last level perk on Cube, that it smushes your enemies through the map.
Oh man, that's got. I mean, yeah, I think he got a little bit lucky there for sure. I think even Virtus.pro was like, or sorry, Woman was like, where did he go? He was just here. But there's a talk about the aggression on this lane with the Shiv and the Kelvin. Michaelis and Obichem going to be looking to put the pressure on, and 600 HP over on the Wraith play by ABL. It's going to be some easy pickings for Shiv.
Yeah, Express Shot online, able to really pump that damage. And the Pocket and Viscous are behind though. They have overextended here. On this, Yamato does get traded and punished out. The rotation from Zany after taking that tower, paying dividends, and one-man team have some players freed up on the map now. Zedon can also look to get active. Calico trying to get in and get this fight going and get active, but I mean, Abrams is kind of a scary foe to fight in the close range.
Yeah, I definitely would not want to fight him. But I guess the funny thing was, like, the upside for Virtus.pro, even though they lost the first tower in the left-hand lane, leaving Zergy to farm, Shark is able to rotate into the mid lane to go for a kill. And he's also freed up to do a lot more box farming here. So they really shouldn't be losing too much. It's just about how much can one win take at this point. And there's the Express Shot coming through to do some decent damage here. Able to force one win back.
Yeah, the Express Shot's massive. Now we see Shiv healed up by Kelvin, going for that Sinner Sack looks like next, or rather the Cultist Sacrifice next. And opening up this Guardian. Nice progress here on the side lane. Surely with the help of Kelvin, they're going to be able to get it down. And despite a couple deaths for Obichem in the end, they're able to take that first Guardian. Able to get a nice head of steam going as far as their build goes, and the full rage. Nice here for Shiv, allow him to potentially push the tempo yet more. And he goes with an early heal booster as well. Kind of an interesting choice this early in the build. Maybe just really valuing that sustain he gets from the headhunter.
Not to mention having Kelvin here to help heal him up too. That's going to be the frozen shelter. I mean, not exactly where you wanted to put it. We still get to heal up Michaelis in the meantime as the dive into coming in on this mid lane Guardian here. Both teams going to start to group up in towards this position, but the Guardians have already gone down. The flex slot has been unlocked now for one win. They need to escape with their lives, more importantly.
Yamato baiting this fight. Abrams, though, not scared, doubling down. Yamato, no ulti now, being chased by Pocket. Has that Cape Cloak combo. Looking to get that burst finish, saving some skills as well. And able to punish Listic for trying to dive and defend that T1. Guardian falls. Still, Shiv and Michaelis, rather Shiv and Kelvin have been incredibly aggressive here, stealing a couple of the camps, keeping the aggression on, and denying ABL from splitting and farming, I think, as much as he'd like to, but he's still doing pretty well on the net worth front.
Yeah, he's falling a little behind when it comes to like Zergy in the matchup, though. I think he's gonna be a lot more impactful in these fights. And well, to be fair, Zergy has just been killed off, so ABL definitely gonna be able to catch up here. But considering that Obichem and Michaelis are not leaving this lane alone, makes it very difficult for ABL to continue to farm as they are going for the dive in on top of him in the right-hand lane. ABL creates the distance he needs to escape here. And now Virtus.pro have to look other places for some pressure because they still need to unlock their own flex slot.
Yeah, Calico trading off. Looks like the team's both gonna chill just a little bit here in this mid lane. Let's call in ZP. How do you think this early game is going, ZP? What are you seeing?
I mean, I think right now it's very favorable to one win. The fact that they didn't get obliterated in lane phase is good, but also I have the secret as to why they get obliterated in lane phase. take a look at one win team. Every single player has bought Healing Nova. Not a single player has not grabbed it. So they have 6 Healing Novas at the moment. That is ridiculous. I think you called it a little bit earlier being like, hey, if Infernus is grabbing this, item may be broken. 1 win so far? Definitely think so.
Softening him up.
Yeah, definitely potent. 6 of them is ridiculous, right? Like kind of a soft counter to some of the heavy team fighting that VP offers. Just constantly being able to heal each other up, stay on the map a little bit more. There's almost an efficiency item aspect to it, where if everyone has it, you're all benefiting from those heals and getting so much sustain. VP, though, the fact that they're not buying the item, though, or not as many at least, does mean that they're investing a little bit more in, you know, snowballing and in greed and raw damage dealing. Man, the cultist sacrifice, even on Ivy, that's a little bit wild. I guess we're going to see a lot of this item be built.
I have 2 thoughts about these Healing Novas, because I feel like there needs to be diminishing returns on it if you use in like quick succession, because that's just kind of insane that you can heal up people so quickly. But also, it's a really good counter to Michaelis, because if you get him to waste his ultimate, his execute, when he has it maxed up, he's going to lose a lot of his potency in the fight. So it's actually like a really good counter to that as well. Not only just being a really good item to have in the lady phase to deny any of these kills to come through.
And Wraith finally got some free time here. Clears out the Guardian, but that does mean that Virtus.pro have more numbers on the urn, likely to get the first pickup. They're going to commit. The Frozen Shelter tried to burn down Xenon inside of it. He's getting a bit of heal up, stabilizing for the moment, and the big pocket ulti comes in and connects. This is a spirit buffed pocket, able to pump tons of damage in the fight. So far, looking rough, but Michaelis finds his first execute. Trade comes in. Ulti finds 2 connections there. Ivy already dead. Viscus looks to be up next. This is a maxed out ulti from Shiv, getting the cleanups and getting the snowball rolling. This is a worst case scenario for a 1-win team. At least they grabbed the urn and were able to slip away with it.
Yeah, I like that pedal pitch actually helped him to go for the chase. But yeah, maxing his ultimate right off the bat here, so he gets that reset potential that we were just talking about in the fights. It's so strong to have, and honestly, it makes Virtus.pro probably want to fight a lot of these engagements too. But the urn's still in the hands of 1win as they're trying to run it in towards the turn on the right-hand side, and Virtus.pro, I wouldn't be surprised to say, okay, turn it in. We're going to take a walker instead.
Debuff remover is an interesting choice here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't work on ulti statuses anymore, right?
Not.
So it's not going to save you from Wraith or pocket ultis. I guess you're using it just to like purge the silence threat from like an overseas swap initiate.
Yeah, also, I think we're going to see a lot of decays used, or probably picked up at one point for 1win to deal with Michaelis. So also really good to counter that and any like active items they throw his way.
Does allow him to just get that natural debuff resistance too, which should help even with some of the ultis. And I'm very focused on Michaelis because I think he really is going to be like kind of the key to this game for VP. I think he's going to be the one to lead the charge. He's doing incredibly well on the soul front. However, Zergi's actually leading on the souls. Maybe take a look at Zergi Pockets here. He's looking to snipe out some of those creeps, so I don't think Michaelis is going to be able to threaten that camp to finish it. Knows he'll get his last hit stolen away. But I'm curious to Zergi's build. Like, what is he going for? I don't expect this to really pop off here on the side lane.
I almost want to guess he's going to go Siphon Bullets at some point.
I feel Tesla Bullets.
On Zergi? Tesla Bullets?
I think he should. Yeah, I think most Infernuses are building Tesla Bullets because just to
But
farm,
it's Zergi.
That's true. Maybe he won't.
Never build Tesla Bullets. I mean, he could. That could be like the start to like his evil arc where he starts building Tesla Bullets for the first time. You know what? Maybe. Who knows? We can see hopefully when we hop over to him in a couple of moments here. But you can see, I mean, they're trying to leave Michaelis to farm up. They're still leaving Zergi to farm up quite a bit. He's actually in the jungle quite a bit right now. But he's on 15,000 souls. He's a clear front runner in this game. And the downside for 1win, like look at Zana. He's just hitting 10K. He is quite far behind like some of these big threats on Virtus.pro side.
Yeah, and VP have kind of like quietly restored the advantage here. Yamato is forced to ulti to stabilize for the moment. And it's a fully defensive goo ball here from Xenia, just forcing him completely away. And that's is that a full whiff on the pocket ulti? Did it connect onto Obakim? Okay, it did grab Obakim. But this is Kelvin. He's got a healing Nova. Frozen Shelter as well. They're surrounding him though. They're trying to get that cleanup. Xenia may have come a little bit too deep though. This is a fully enraged Shiv on the chase. Doesn't have that many stamina bars. Could be hard to get the catch. Infernus tries to get in, tries to find any stragglers. It's a big chase down from VP, but it's starting to look a little awkward, and the mass healing Novas are paying off. They're sustaining through all this damage. VP rotated in for nothing.
Yeah, you can see Michaelis. He wants to get those finishers. He just has to be so careful about it too. Obviously, the cube's going to deny. Actually, I actually don't know if they changed that, if they fixed it, because you could execute through Q. As a nice swap comes in, he gets locked
No
into the
debuff
enemy
remover.
team. Yeah, exactly. No debuff remover. No chance to survive this one as he goes back in. He will fall. And OneWin actually going to be on the driver's seat here, looking to take their first walker of the game.
Yeah, this is pretty huge. Dynamo does have the ulti. He is speeding down the lane here, so we could see a defense now. Looks like VP want to show up. They want to make this defense happen. Commitment from OneWin team. They're coming to finish the walker. Dynamo considering. Doesn't want to full commit in. Calico trying to take the aggression in the front line. Paradox would be a great first kill. And there's Yamato diving in deep, chasing it down. Ballistic finds that first kill. Virtus.pro bringing everyone. Black Hole came in there. I didn't see massive connection from it. Zergy trying to get anything more out of that. But one kill is honestly not the worst price here to pay for OneWin team. They get the walker, they lose one, not the end of the world.
So I was looking through chat really quickly there, Jake, and a lot of people are saying that Zergy actually has started to build testable bullets. I don't think we've seen it in like pro play, but he's been starting to use it. Obviously build it up towards capacitor as well to just completely deny like the cube.
That's a great point. Now that it has an upgrade, I think Tesla Bullets has become a lot more viable because you buy it in the early game, mid game for farming, but then late game, you're not selling it. It's not a wasted slot. You're going to upgrade to capacitor and be this incredibly powerful AoE threat in the team fight. Now the mid boss being forced by VP, kind of a surprising move. Like you're all up for OneWin team. Expect them to come fight this. Infernus ulti coming in. Abrams as well over the top. Delaying, waiting it out. Just in time. Big stun connection though. Virtus.pro in the chaos are able to snag that rejuve. They're quite low on many players. OneWin team, remember this is mass. Heal Novas are so strong fighting together. Abrams being full focus. Can you able to get him down through the passive? Seems like the answer is yes for now. Trades coming in. Michaelis is incredibly low. And despite VP grabbing the rejuve, they seem to be running for the hills. OneWin team looking like the healthier squad. But escaping with a few rejuves, not a bad outcome overall for VP.
You saw like Xenon's job in that fight. Not only was it to try to steal away the rejuve, which Listic was able to lock in considering he didn't use Shroud Transformation, which I thought was interesting. He immediately went for Michaelis. Like he wanted to punish him and him particularly, keep him out of the fight. Don't let him get those resets because honestly, he is the biggest threat in these fights. And without Singularity up as well here for Demov, I think OneWin made a very smart choice to go for the rejuve contest, even though they did lose out on it. If they get the Urn turning off the back of this, it would be huge, but obviously the respawn's coming back through at Virtus.pro. They should be able to contest it here and should be able to give it a fighting chance.
Let's bring in ZP as a big fight, pretty decisive in the game, has really, I mean, you got a couple of rejuves for Virtus.pro, but a lot of kills and farm for OneWin team. How do you see this next stage of the game breaking down, ZP?
I think the economy allocation is really bad for VP. Like, you look at the aggregate and you just go, oh, okay, VP's down 10K. You know, they're good macro. They can bring it back. Look at what they have to deal with right now. They have to deal with the complete raid boss in ABL at 22,000. Your Yamato is at 14K. Listing is basically support Yamato, which is where you never want to be. As evidence here, it's Listing just gets put into the ground again. I think right now the path back to VP is really hard because the only real path I see is if Demov just hits the nastiest singularities you've ever seen, because other than that, I think in terms of the heroes that actually need the farm, OneWin has it in spades and VP does not.
Urn drop grab. Dynamo though coming in, big connection, followed up by Infernus, big stun onto OneWin team. This is the fight you were looking for. Abrams trying to slip away, trying to get some of that heal passive online, but he is chased down. Michaelis gets the execute, and they're still chasing overseas. Oh, pause comes in from OBL. But that's the great team fight you were looking for Virtus.pro, right? The Dynamo ulti sets it up, Infernus for the follow-up stun and the damage. Zergy has quite a bit of farm for himself too, so maybe Wraith is a little bit more on meta, but Infernus offering the team fight, offering some of that extended single target focus fire could be a bit of a problem for ABL if they get late enough into the game. And that was just a fight where OneWin team wasn't really ready with all the resources. They got a lot of players in other lanes who really just weren't here at all for the engagement.
It kind of split up in their decision making there. I mean, again, Demov hits a good singularity, locks in Xenon, locks in Zanya, so they can actually confirm those into kills. I think for Virtus.pro, the big play right now is to continue to push on this left-hand side because you've already lost your mid and right lane walker and left lane walker. You have no walkers left, so you might as well confirm to get this left lane walker down. That way you get an extra flex slot opened up here and you have a little bit of control in the farm. I wonder if we have the opportunity to actually take a look here at some of the builds as well while we have a short pause. Well, no, we don't have time anymore because it looks like OneWin is ready to go. I was actually curious what Zergy's been building up to on the Infernus.
I got the answer to that. He just got Siphon Bullets.
Yeah.
He went with the super early Siphon Bullets, and then other than that, Cult of Sacrifice was in Headhunter.
Wraith's taking a big risk here, trying to defend this. Wraith showing up to this fight, very risky. He's low HP on Wraith as well. They're bringing a lot of resources in. Michaelis grabs the walker. He's being chased down though. Maybe an overcommitment from Michaelis with the rest of OneWin team teleporting in. They don't defend the walker, but getting Michaelis is a nice trade pick off, a nice little something to write home about.
I think I'd be happy Virtus.pro for one death for the Walker, to be honest, just because you get the flex slot. But I mean, Women obviously getting something and nothing's very important here, and they're not really going to be able to push off anywhere with that kill that they got. There's still a lot of jungle to be farmed up here, and we're starting to hit some pretty like nasty soul deficits here for Virtus.pro, and that comeback mechanics really going to start to pop off here. But ABL, I mean, he doesn't even have his Mercurial Magnum picked up here. Still has the QSR. So I'd assume this next 3-4K that he's farming up right now is going to be heading over towards that Mercurial Magnum. And that's where he's really going to start putting on tons of damage. Burst fire on top of that as well. Like Fleetfoot, he is going to be a machine that, honestly, looking at, Virtus.pro side, what do they have to deal with him? If you can't lock him to Frozen Shelter, or you can't get him in Singularity, I don't really think you're going to have an easy way to lock him down.
Yeah, those are still some nice tools, right, to be able to punish, and he is still like very much a glass cannon. So I think there's still the comeback potential for VP is that you can initiate on him. However, there's things like Cube, there's something like Abrams counter initiating, even Ivy grabbing the Wraith and running away. So there's a lot of potential threats you have to worry about if you just go in and you're committing with the Singularity, and even though getting some nice cleanup on the map.
And I don't think Virtus.pro has the farm yet they need to get like Capacitor online either, to like go fully on ABL. Cube comes in, get rid of the Cube, and then kill him. I don't think they're gonna have that for a little bit of time here. I mean, Zergy, yeah, like Siphon Bullets, like ZP said, they actually didn't even build Tesla this game. Okay.
Just valuing raw damage. Connection coming in. Blink though. Warpstone rather save kill us for the moment. TPs him out. Double ultis missed on one team. A little bit of an opening now for VP if they want to re-engage.
It's that debuff remover though. I mean, not the active of it, but the fact that he reduces the time he's kind of like stunned up there means it's a lot harder to hit those paradoxical swaps. He's actually able to escape from that one pretty cleanly if you're not prepared for it.
Two of them are leaving this fight, and there's still a chase going on for VP. Okay, looks like they're going to teleport away, and everyone's going to teleport. So they're going to try and flip the map and maybe show up and play behind Zergy, maybe fake that he's split pushing. Kind of an interesting strat here coming out from VP, this mega cross map rotation.
Yeah, they want to confirm a buff. Because they know that like when we're on heavily on the right side, I think they want to avoid a fight right now. So the buff's going to spawn in. I'm not sure what they get on the left-hand side, but we can see Survival on the right. And one would actually rotate around to the left side to try to help deal with this, try to contest it. But I believe Virtus.pro have been able to secure it.
Seems like both teams now spoiling for a fight around the urn, delayed for a moment by the puddle punch from Xenia. But you're constantly worried about the threat that this Dynamo poses with the ulti. Ivy split pushing for the meantime. Attempt to grab the urn is successful though, so it's a nice grab by Sharik. Paradox looking for a swap, trying to pull somebody out of the fight. They can't get it for now. VP trying to back out, making sure nobody dies is the key here, and they succeed at that. So one-man team, despite delaying things for a moment, they were just too scared of the threat of the Dynamo of the Kelvin, the team fight that those heroes represent. Just too much of a problem to recommit on an urn pickup.
Kind of important for Virtus.pro to get that urn too, considering it's going to be a turn on their side of the map. They're currently down 20k. Trying to get themselves back into this. We can see one would have already completely swarmed over the turn-in location, not allowing that one to be picked up for Virtus.pro whatsoever.
Toxic is a nice upgrade for Zergy. He's got some pretty sick damage. I agree, though. I think turning it in is going to be a little bit too difficult here. With the heavy commitment from one team.
They're choking Virtus.pro. Like, they're not allowing to get any of their jungle. If they want to push that to...
You have all these heroes on the one spot. You're not farming at all for one-win team either. I don't think VP really have to do anything.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I think, like, you can see, ABL, he's rotating around. They're getting some chip damage on the Guardians. Like, you're definitely right that they're all grouped up, not farming up as well, but they're also quite far ahead, so it's not really a big deal for them to be not farming.
Do they have the follow-up? The Cube already came down. Paradox incredibly low. Pocket seems to be able to play it out for now. They use that ulti to ensure the team fight. Obikim keeping everybody healthy and engaged. Now VP are up to one win. Do they want to try to bring this one back? Wraith under pressure, blinks out, tries to escape this, needs to just full kite out of the engagement. You're running a little bit low on ultis and resources for Virtus.pro. The full expulsion of Teamfight Ultimates was enough to get a few kills. Calico trying to bait Wraith into a continued engagement, and mid-boss is up now. So an opportunity for VP should they want to take it.
Zon is alive, ABL is alive. It's a little bit risky to go for it right now, but then again, you do have Michaelis getting really farmed up. He has his own Siphon Bullets picked up here. Crushing Fist picked up for Listic as well. It looks like they might be trying to go for... Oh my god, look at the damage Zanya just takes just from a heavy melee coming out of Listic, and now Zanya's not going to be able to puddle punch this away. But Listic's going to have to join in. They need him there with the Shadow Transformation to secure this mid-boss.
He's looking like he wants to just play for the kill there. It's going to be a speed boost out by Xenia. Although Xenia double down, trying to re-engage. The heavy melees keep connecting. The crushing fist. Hold on, you're starting to be in trouble here for Viscous. Yamato still has ulti, the pressure on the pit, but they doesn't get the ulti off. Doesn't expect that level of overwhelming pressure. Now it's a fight here in the small rooms on the side. Kelvin ulti deployed. That does leave Infernus out to dry, and the goo ball's in here now, dancing in the small room. VP don't have the same ultimates they deployed in the last team fight. OneWin are wiping the floor with them for the moment. The rest of the team dropping low, and that chase onto Xenia proves to be a poor decision there from VP. They get heavily punished, splitting the objectives, not fighting as a team, and OneWin team delay for their own spawners, make the comeback, and should be securing the rejuve for themselves. This could be the end of game one. I mean, OneWin team definitely gonna have a moment to drop Patron if they want to attempt it with 30 seconds on some of these spawners.
Man, I gotta get crits, not only like Zanya to buy time there to force like Listic to chase him down, but also Xenon. We didn't really catch a lot of it, but in the pit, he was stalling for so much time by himself on this Abrams to just make sure they couldn't actually confirm the kill onto it while Listic was chasing him away and to drag the fight out. I mean, you got the frozen shelter used with him, and I think it was just Obi came inside of there. Maybe there's one more person, maybe D-Mob, but like Zergy was locked out, so there's no way for them to actually confirm the kill on the Xenon. And OneWin, I mean, the rotation they did just to instantly kill Listic as well with the paradoxical swap into the silence was perfect. But now OneWin, I mean, with rejuve, with everything going your way, with the 20k lead, can they close it out? Because they still have to worry about the singularity and the frozen shelter online for Virtus.pro now.
Yeah, the Abrams has turned into a pretty serious beast of a hero, especially with the saves online. Now you're just clearing the entire map of farms, so OneWin team trying to expand that soul lead. However, VP are back to that full combo threat, and I think the threat of this comp is like no matter how far behind you are, if you get like a 2 to 3 man clean initiation, they're just guaranteed kills. Unless you just have no damage, it feels like there's no way to deal with the Kelvin ulti, black hole into Kelvin ulti, into Infernus ulti. Everyone's just shooting the player. It's so ridiculous, you know, in terms of a team fight power up. Unstoppable online for ABL, that could be a difference maker. That could help him to be maybe a little bit more aggressive with his positioning and threatening fights. OneWin team for the moment are content to expand their lead, but we could see a fight pop off. Seems like Sharik is scouting things out right now. Maybe knows some of the position of these OneWin players, and ABL's not here.
Yeah, I would love to see like a refresher singularity and refresher frozen shelter, just to have like so much control in these fights. I don't think there's a world though Virtus.pro could be able to afford it with the way OneWin are playing at the moment though. And even ABL might get a catch on a Zerky towards the earn turn in. And yeah, he's gonna get the catch. And honestly, it should be a pretty easy kill for him because of just how fed he is. Zerky at 32k, but doesn't touch the 37 out of ABL. With that kill coming through, OneWin for sure, or sorry, Virtus.pro for sure cannot contest this earn turn in, and this leads it to continue to grow even further.
Yeah, it's a nice pickup. I mean, that's the risk you run, right? And that's OneWin team playing to the strengths of their comp, right? Making it a game of pickoffs rather than team fights, where they are the much stronger draft when it comes to individual solo kills. Zergy really can't compete with ABL in a one-on-one. He relies on the team fight pressure. Ulti comes in from pocket. Looks like a decent connection there on a couple players. Yamato really trying to land some of these crushing fist shots. For now, they're just going to be full backing, getting back into the safety of the throne. Oh my god, that first, no way, onto Listic. I thought he was safe for sure, and so did he. Now OneWin team gonna drop the first patron, and they might stick around. They're healthy. They've got some of the powerful tools they need. Abrams, full HP. Let's see how he plays this fight. Leading the charge in, trying to take the fight straight to Michaelis on the Shiv.
He's got max ultimate as well, so I believe he can stop the singularity if he keeps himself out of the fight and is initially caught by it. So
there it is.
This is going to be very important. There's the singularity with the frozen shelter to really lock them in. No way can stop this with the seismic slam, but they're going to catch Zergy on the respawn, and Zergy going to try to run away with the flame dash directly into Flammable, but he goes down. The healing nova is still being used, and Virtus.pro, they're down 3.
The mass healing novas are paying off beautifully, and VP, just the dregs of the team, trying to make this defense happen, but Abrams is incredibly potent. Little parry from Dynamo, just a little insult, little spit in the eye, but it's going to be OneWin team taking it on this first match with their signature style. Virtus.pro with the heavy team fight draft falls short here in game one. Really impressed with OneWin's performance here, especially the mass buying of those healing novas. Kind of a sick way to punish some of the AoE team fight threat.
Sick way to punish, or a sick thing to have to deal with. It depends on what side of the coin you're on in that one, in that fight. Definitely some diminishing returns that maybe going to need to be looked at when it comes to that item in particular. But OneWin, hey, if you're going to leave it to them to figure out a way to take down Virtus.pro, that is one way to do so. Honestly, not something I expected in this series. I didn't expect them to take a map up against Virtus.pro, but OneWin, they're on the verge of taking this throne back once again for themselves in EU, but they have to do it one more time, and I don't think Virtus.pro are going to go for such a heavily team-oriented composition with the Dynamo Kelvin this next roundabout.
Yeah, I mean, Virtus.pro have proven over time that they're a very adaptable squad, that they're not a team that is one note. We'll see, though. They got the Shiv Kelvin this game, and they weren't really able to make it work. We've seen a lot of teams like really run the table with that combo, but One Man Team feel like had the answers. They got the Abrams for themselves, and that proved to be maybe the more dominant hero, just holding down the front line, being that brick wall here in game one, enough at least to tank through some of those powerful initiations. And then, of course, the Wraith, just absolutely deadly, picking off players left and right, soloing them on those side lanes on the split push threat. So well done by One Man Team, able to make it work even without the Mirage, still playing sort of a split push style draft, playing to the strength. I think Viscous was another a key part of their success in this game, in those team fights especially.
Jake, I'm gonna have to do it. I know it's normally you, but I think he's gonna burst if we don't bring him back in. ZP has to rejoin us here on the desk because he has a lot he wants to say. He's been watching this game, giving us updates about items and everything going on. ZP, One Win taking the map, first of all, I think was already impressive. But the way they did it as well was very important and kind of true to the way One Win maybe start to take games by innovating.
Well, I mean, first and foremost is that they did not get run over by the Shiv Kelvin lane. I think they played around it pretty well, and as good as Shiv Kelvin is as a lane, I think teams have realized every now and then you might end up giving it up, and they respect it a lot more to the point that you're just not going to chain feed. So they got out of the laning phase, which was by far the biggest danger to them. They had more initiations by far, just with the fact that once you hit 3K, you had Paradox and Wraith really being able to make things happen along with the Abrams. But also, I got called out here and now. When you look at how Zergy built and how ABL built, in what universe is that not horrifically imbalanced in favor of One Win, where you have one hero that's based entirely around like amping gun damage and has an ult and abilities that go into that, and then you have Infernus, who, you know, while the kid is more a spirit, but you're still building similar gun items. Like, even at even farm, the scaling is going to be way more in Wraith's favor, and I feel like if your goal isn't to draft something like a 7, which I think is more competitive, I think you actually need to ban the Wraith. I think you cannot go into the end game. Like, imagine it was a little bit more even. I still think the Wraith versus Infernus for your carry player is so just favored on the Wraith side, especially if your goal is like built into like Gun Infernus, that you actually just cannot let the Wraith through. Like, I look back at the draft and see giving up the Wraith with the plan of picking Infernus later on is actually just such a mistake for how people are itemizing right now.
I'll say this though, ZP. I'm damn happy to see ABL playing heroes that he can carry on again, because like the last few weeks we saw him, he wasn't able to be the true ABL that we've seen. And seeing him put over on towards the Wraith, I'm happy to see it. I know Empty Dreams is a fantastic player as well, but ABL has that somewhat je ne sais quoi to him when he plays. I don't even know if I said anything remotely right in French.
It sounded.
I also think we may be going into game 2 in like a 12 rejuvenated burst type of a meta with how broken that looked with stacking it for One Man Team. I mean, they sustained through some of that heavy early game pressure, I think, in large part because of those builds, kind of kept them in the game. And even like mid-game team fighting, it looked pretty sick too. It wasn't just an early game laning sustain item. It was like legitimately really powerful. It's like you have a freaking Keldon ulti on you when you're just cycling a bunch of rejuvenating bursts. It's kind of OP. So like you guys said, maybe an item that needs a look from the devs, but for now, of course, I think we'll expect to see it probably spammed a lot, at least in today's Deadlock Fight Night.
Hey, my eye test on the Wraith versus Infernus rant is also being borne out a little bit by the stats here on top of it, where ABL chunking at nearly 42k damage, and Zergy getting out damaged even by Listic, who was a Yamato in poverty mode. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the game, of course, Zergy had the farm and Listic was frontline, which is part of why Listic was kind of behind. Like, Listic was the more active team fight all the time rather than I'm going to farm Yamato, which, by the way, I'm not entirely sure is the right way of doing it. Like, this isn't the first time the VP has kind of tried to pull the we won't farm the Yamato always team fight, and I'm still not convinced that's the proper way to deal with the hero, because you look at the income allocation that VP did, they never really created avenues for Listic to potentially get up and over the game, because they kept throwing Listic into every single team fight and didn't give him those opportunities to farm and catch up, where I think Listic has shown that when his Yamato is actually even with the game or ahead, Listic is very capable of taking over, granted pre-patch, but I still think Yamato is capable of that post-patch. So
it's also wild that Shiv is like top damage for his team, and he bought like 75% green items. That's actually crazy for me. Like, that, how good this hero is. You could buy like all green items and be still top damaging the team is pretty crazy. But we'll have to see coming into game 2 how things change. What were you gonna say, Jason?
I'm not like I think on paper it looks really cool and really good what Virtus.pro's roster lineup was, but the big downside is that you have 4 heroes that all want farm, and you can't really give 4 heroes equal farm. You need to really stack those 1 or 2 players in particular to be able to carry you through in these games, which is what we saw for ABL. So like having a Calico, having a Infernus, having a Yamato, and the other one for some reason I cannot remember, a Shiv, all wanting that farm. Something has to give. You can't get them all overpowered at that point, and that's where I think ABL can completely run you over because he's just so far ahead.
Well, we'll have to see how it all breaks down in game 2. We're going to give these teams just a minute to reset, to rethink going into that next draft, which could be decisive. One win team on the brink of victory here in Deadlock Fight Night, number 26, presented by Intel. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back after a short break. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Deadlock Fight Night, number 26, presented by Intel. And jumping into the second game of the series, One Win team are up 1-0 on our previous champions, VP. VP in the comeback spot here, but they've been here before, Jason. They've made these comebacks work. They've had mid-series adaptations that have brought them over the line in the past. They've got a long history here in DFN, so I won't count them out just yet.
Yeah, and I think they're one of the teams that adapt from draft to draft, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a complete switch up for them, and them taking a map and take us to a third. But it all comes down to how are they going to approach this, and does One Win have anything else, any other tricks up their sleeve to pull out here in this next matchup? Because it would be kind of interesting to see One Win come back to being on top in EU to kind of keep things really tricky between who our best team in EU is going to be. The one way to do that, of course, is we can't do it alone, Jake, right?
Jason, before we bring in our help, I've got to say, speaking of tricks up your sleeve, if you don't have any sleeves to keep the tricks up, we've got you covered here. We've got a new slate of merch coming down. Of course, this all supports the Deadlock Fight Night brand. It supports the broadcast that we put on. So shout out to our wonderful art team being able to bring together some of the merch. You can go to our website, all the links to be able to check out what we've got cooking here from a merch perspective. But of course, let's bring in our analysts. Let's bring in Dan, DDK. Welcome back. What did you see there out of that game 1 between Virtus.pro and One Win team? What do you expect to see, I guess, coming into game 2?
I guess I expect to see some more of the same, really. It feels like, again, I think going back to the beginning of the show, I feel like the versatility and some of the playmaking heroes just across the board, that just like the hero pool that we see from One Win is like really good. And just seeing the capacity for ABL to still just mega carry on just, Wraith. I mean, we didn't see the Yamato, obviously, but that's like that could happen. But also seeing Pocket picked up. I know that was a question also on Empty Dreams. Empty Dreams being like an incredibly sick Pocket player for the team. And also sometimes when Pocket was more of a carry, we would see ABL also play that too. So just, I don't know. I still feel like One Win seemed to have a good beat on how to apply their like kind of previous play style. With just adaptations made for the new game at the moment, and I do think it was still more optimal than VP's approach. So I don't know. I feel like it's still early days here, Jake. I feel like anything could happen. We'll have to see what VP learns after that previous matchup. But I think the Wraith discussion was definitely on point.
I got better.
Yeah, opportunity for One Win team to take a different approach on the bans. They're going to go with the Abrams ban this time. And with the first pick, I'm curious to see what they're going to end up grabbing. VP, do you let the Shiv through? Are you willing to take that risk? I wonder. I feel like they should not. I think they should ban the Shiv.
Well, it's a bit of a turnaround, right? Because this time One Win are actually first picking, whereas previously Virtus.pro were first picking. So VP have to be very mindful of like, what do we want to potentially grab as our first 2? So they do leave open the Shiv, the Wraith, the Kelvin, the Warden as well, because Warden was banned last time.
It's interesting because I think for One Win team, if you take Shiv, you almost force VP into taking the Kelvin, just because I think that combo is so insane. But then what do you pair with the Kelvin? Abrams is banned. Maybe just Kelvin Warden or Kelvin Wraith is like good enough, but Kelvin does need frontliners. He does need the synergy. And One Win team go Paradox first pick. They're giving up Shiv Kelvin. They don't even care. All right. Okay, One Win team. They beat it last game. Maybe they do it again.
I would Shiv Wraith over Kelvin, to be honest. Just to get confirm and lock those 2 in.
Because maybe One Win team doesn't want to take the Kelvin for themselves either, with the way, like, if you've taken the Shiv away from them.
We also take away, the Wraith from ABL and you give it to Zergy, who's much more proficient in these games on Wraith than it's come to Infernus. And I don't think you necessarily need to have Shiv Kelvin to have a decent lane. Like, Shiv is still always going to be a threat because of the reset mechanics on his ultimate. It doesn't matter really what stage of the game it's going to be at, especially when health pools have been increased across the scale for everyone. even with the slight hits he's been taking to his like gun boom damage as he levels and his health, he still is going to be that massive threat.
So
See the second.
No one builds
it
an
determines
empire
whether or not we
without
get
sacrifice.
Calico as a response, right? Because
Right.
you gotta lock that in before the first wave that bans to just ensure that you get a solid carry. No way to mitigate those opening picks.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Calico could be likely to go here in this phase. For VP, I'm curious. I'm curious if the Kelvin goes at all for one win team here. Do you want to deny it? You could do like a Kelvin plus Calico, but you don't really have that many frontliners left in the draft to synergize with your own Kelvin. They get the Warden, which can potentially be that, can potentially stand its ground. I'm a little worried about Warden's ability to tank through Shiv plus Wraith, though. Even with the ulti, right? Even with the threat that the Warden does bring on some of these team fights. I guess it depends. If he's got those other stunners surrounding him, it can be a lot stronger.
Do you guys think CC is going to be one of the better ways to deal with it with Wraith? Or what do you prioritize in terms of from this? Because obviously there's still like 3 picks left for one win to find a comp that can deal with it. And it seems like immediately Shiv Wraith is like such a big threat. So what's the answer?
I mean, Cube can be that. Cube can be an answer to potentially both of these characters, saving people from the killing blow or the dives, or Wraith's ulti can be turned around. So I actually don't hate taking the Viscous this high prior. I think it very easily could have been banned out by VP in the ban phase.
Hello,
But I assume they take. Oh, it's not. They're still not taking Kelvin. All right, kind of surprising. Maybe they think the Kelvin is overrated. They get all the cores opening the draft with the triple core for VP. So they have a lot of holes to fill in the comp, though.
I mean,
because I feel like ABL's not got his carry right now.
I do like a Yamato ban here. I actually like that quite a lot because I think you're kind of done drafting carries for VP. Like with these 3, I don't think you're going to pick Yamato. One win team, I think the question for them is, they take Pocket out. Wow. Okay.
So MP Dreams gets targeted instead.
I mean, but now one win, it's like you could ban the Kelvin, or you could ban the Yamato, or the Holiday. Like, there's a lot of these picks that are kind of key to what Virtus.pro needs right now. I would almost want to say the Holiday is gonna actually, no, the Kelvin's gonna be more important of a ban than the Holiday.
It's tough. I think between those 2, it's really tough. I wouldn't mind the Holiday ban. I think taking away some of the initiate is really powerful.
Good luck to you and your
They
future.
value the Kelvin. I think that
because Pocket was banned, you don't have the anti-healing, I think, is the important part to deal with the Kelvin and the Frozen Shelter. So I think let him have a pick hero, but don't let him have that ability to heal and
the team fight.
Yeah, because you can out heal or you can block out at the last stand from Warden, and then it's like, well, now the ultimate does nothing.
That's a great point. It is a pretty nice counter to the Warden ulti. Once he's committed into the cast animation, you just dome him out, get full healed, he's wasted, and then you re-engage. They go with the Ivy, so they're still going to be playing, it looks like, for the heals. I mean, I still think that is a kind of an interesting combo, right? Like, you imagine like just pocket healing Shiv in some of these fights, getting, especially if you're going to go for the regeneration burst on a lot of characters, as I kind of expect to see in this game with how good that looked for one win team in the last game. Ivy could be nice for that, like pocketing Shiv or Wraith, kind of being that assist for the main heavy carries. You still don't have the Holiday, though. Are you going to does one win team ever steal the Holiday here? I don't know that it's worth it for them, but it could be like it's a risky gambit, but it does deny something that I'm almost certain that Virtus.pro will be picking a Holiday. Maybe they can do the Lash.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like one win don't tend to emphasize like taking picks away as much, but they like to just try to grab their best comp, right? That adheres more to their strategy. I know that's just like a trend I think that I've noticed, but like correct me if I'm wrong with that.
Here I am.
Yeah, I think they do tend to get the drafts that they like, that they're comfortable playing and playing their own style, which has worked out for them so far today. I mean, they're 2-0 today.
The Ivy, though, I just had to like double check the tether. Also gives like attack speed and lifesteal for the person you're attached to. So if you throw that onto Wraith, Zergi's just gonna be,
let's have fun.
Already insane as it is, but it can be even more ridiculous. But funny enough, out of 3 matches, we finally see Geist for the first time here picked up by Virtus.pro, or picked up period in these games. I wonder where she kind of disappeared to, because I didn't think the nerf was like that drastic to her Malice for her to not be played.
I think it's nice against Warden too, with the uncontrolled damage. Warden loves to like int in super hard, and getting swapped and turned around on in some of these fights very achievable. I think Lash could have a pretty big game here, though. There's not really a way to answer Lash. I guess Holiday could lasso him out of the sky. That's probably your best response. Counter spells, I think, likely to be purchased this game, especially for one win team. I mean, there's some pretty valuable counters, whether it's the Wraith ulti or the Geist ulti or the Holiday ulti, all very powerful, I think, to counterspell denying them some of these team fight initiations, or in Lady Guy's case, pretty key skill to keep her alive and allow her to turn around team fights.
7.
Seven.
Bebop. Oh.
All right, we're going to map 3, boys. Let's get ready for that one. I mean, Bebop, you already have a pair. They're lacking damage. And this is where I thought like Abraham's in the first match was really in a bad place, is that if your Yamato Warden doesn't have a good game, you're kind of lacking the damage to make these comps do anything. Even with like the wombo combo you could have.
I have been seeing Lashes build a lot of gun damage. And so I think Lash can get into a decent spot as far as being a damage dealer. But I agree with you. I think it's definitely light. You definitely are a little bit emphasizing the early game, especially Bebop, right? I think One Win Team have gone against their nature in a way with this draft where I feel like it's definitively a losing draft in the late game. If you aren't like snowballing the game, I think you are in a bit of trouble, which I don't. Historically, One Win Team has often been the team that is willing to back off and farm and reset and play towards a later game build. Maybe they just feel like the Shiv Wraith needs to be punished before they get online. And there's something to be said in that vision. Like, honestly, if you let these VP Shiv Wraith get to like full stack power levels, maybe there's just nothing in the game that's going to win it for you. And maybe you do just need to triple down on snowballing the game against them. And they just never get to that Mercurial Magnum on Wraith. You never get to those key, heavy investment in green items to just tank the world on Shiv.
It is super interesting because it feels like this mixture of like some team, like 3 team fight with like 3 of the more typical, we like run with this. Like, the Bebop, the Paradox, the Yamato, that's like quite typical for what you'd expect for One Win. But then you add like the Viscous Warden and Lash, and it's like, okay, I feel like there's a battle of what kind of strategies make the most sense. And I'm curious because I don't think I can remember One Win playing a draft like this where they lose out on some of these like Pocket and Calico, and it's just having Yamato be like the main damage. It's just super interesting. I'm trying to like feel out how this can work out for them, but it doesn't seem readily apparent. I'm not sure if you guys have a better read on it, but I feel like I'm just gonna have to just see how they play this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think this may also be our first Bebop pick, including last week. So on the new patch, it might be our first Bebop pick, and I'm just curious to see how they build it, right? Historically, Bebop has been built most often as a support, but it has been in pubs I've seen is built as a gun carry and as a spirit carry. So I think, the kind of open season for Bebop with a lot of nerfs on this character, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to see if he can continue to deliver, especially that early game. But Yamato Bebop in the mid, I mean, that sounds like a broken combo to me. Yamato spamming you, pressuring you, you get hooked in, you're in real trouble.
Well, if there's one Bebop player in the world that I think could make him work, it's going to be this man here on your screen with Overseas. He's definitely one of the top in my eyes overall. He's going for the bomb off the bat here. It's not looking for the initial fight, looking more so to pick up the hook next. But I don't know, man. Like Bebop has just been kind of in a really rough spot. I know you've been seeing your pubs. I mean, everyone still loves to play Bebop, but I'm also really curious to see what build he's going to be going for, because you already have like that. You need damage. Like you need some big damage out of him and the rest of the team to really make this comp work, I'd feel like.
Well, we'll say goodbye to Dan for a moment. We'll call him back in a little bit later in the game. For now, the laning phase has begun. Bebop trying to get a couple of these bomb stacks on. Still hasn't been able to connect any of that. Gonna get one for the moment. Put a little bit of pressure on the lane. So far, this lane does look pretty terrifying. I mean, even with the hooks not connecting, Yamato is really doing the hard carry work here with the right clicks, just pounding these defenders. And they're starting to get a little bit of pressure on the Guardian.
I want to see, what is he actually going to buy here initially, too? But it used to be like Mystic Reach or Spirit Strike would be like the first items you pick up as a Bebop. I mean, also, to be fair, if you're going to try to freeze the lane, Bebop's one of the best heroes in the game, if not the best hero, actually, to deny, considering you have the only attack that doesn't have travel time.
And Warden's doing a lot of damage in this lane, too. Warden, Viscous, everyone in this lane is extremely low. They're just brawling out here, continuing to pump a lot of damage. Definitely rests on the edge of a knife here with both teams really getting the others incredibly low.
I'm surprised to see actually the Warden doing so much work in that lane, but then again, like you don't have a lot of sustain with the guys who's already low HP. Michaelis is already low HP as well, so I wonder if I have to alter what they're actually picking up here too in lane. Probably some help Novus, I would assume. Jake, for them?
Yeah, probably some health novas. I think that's a very good guess. I think both of these lanes should grab health novas, maybe on both sides, especially Viscous. I think there's a very natural health nova builder. Warden doing a bit of trading as well on the sides. Neither team has the money for it yet, although, yep, it's a rushed health nova from Geist. First item. Cool.
Who would have expected that?
They're still low, though, so there's still an opportunity. Even health nova is not going to be a perfect sustain tool, and looks like Michaelis doesn't want to build it. He's going more for his own personal greed. Has the heal shot. Bebop hook pulled under tower. Calico, though, doubling it down just with the aggression. Trades it out. Tariq gets the kill with the melee as well, but traded by Yamato in turn. So I think the fact that you're able to kill overseas on the hook is nice for you, stabilizing that lane for a moment. Heal Nova on Ivy. Who does not have a Heal Nova? Oh, wow. Lash has no Heal Nova. Incredible.
Yet.
What an innovative build.
I'm assuming it'll be coming eventually. You can see it here. Picked up by Empty Dreams. And headshot booster too. I wish we could like flash forward like 5-10 minutes and then go back in time, just because I want to see what overseas ends up doing with the Bebop overall. Still like this aggression. I mean, Viscous Warden, it's a lot of poke, to be fair. It's a lot of displacement, especially if a body ward can connect.
1 HP Yamato, incredibly low. Ulti's down. He rushed the express shot, but has no sustain in this lane. And now it's really hard to stay in the lane. He's trying to like get as many of the heal procs off that heal trooper as he can, but definitely a scary proposition. Holiday with the threat of that headshot burst is super scary. Pull, diving in. They have a lot of damage, but yeah, oh my god, he's just healing through everything. Got a heal booster. Not scared to take that hook and grabs Bebop, pulls him deep now. See if he can get him past the tower. Looks like that lasso just didn't quite last long enough for it. The barrel bomb as well, missing. Healing Nova purchased and used by overseas, keeping him up, re-engaging in the fight. Who's got the Healing Nova off cooldown?
I mean, I've heard of stamina tracking, but you're going to have people doing some like Healing Nova tracking in this game.
Oh, and they're able to pressure down Listic from range. Ulti use as well. They're just trying to heavy full commit, pressuring the tower down. KLS, of course, a little bit scared to come in. He is going to come in now near the end. He's able to dance out away, and Warden ulti used just to defend the tower. Shiv keeping this fight in contest, but just got the ulti in line, so doesn't have rage really built up to force this fight to be a key threat. Bonner's coming in as well. It's going to force Warden back off the tower. They stabilize for the moment, but it's still a scary position there in that side lane. Calico low, no skills left. Trying to continue to fight it out, but the threat from Yamato to the express shot is huge. Traded just in the nick of time there by Calico, and space created by Holiday. Bebop cannot go for the finish.
That fade away Gloom Bomb, man. And also Health Nova. So he's going to go back to heal and base instead of using it to sustain in lane. Yeah, it's not looking out too good for Virtus.pro. I mean, they're down, 2K so far. They're still looking like on the edge in a lot of these lanes. I mean, Shark just barely escapes there in that situation up against ABL, where he previously died trying to dive into onto overseas. But I mean, the left-hand lane is still in a bit of a struggle. Zanya at 4.5. Also paired up with Empty Dreams at 5K. And the thing is, we know one winner are going to allow Empty Dreams to farm away. Like, they're going to feed him farm specifically. And we know how strong a warder can get when he gets that farm given to him. I think if he can somehow take this tower and give him the lane by himself, he's really going to start to spike up in power, especially when you get to the first or the second set of buffs coming on at 10 minutes.
Yamato diving under tower, incredibly low, but is going to get healed up while he transforms into the ulti. Maybe that creates enough space. Yes, it's going to be Guardian going down. So finally, the pressure they've been putting on this lane ends up paying off. Rotation in from Paradox as well to just ensure that there's no chance to contest it. Bit expensive for one-win team, bringing the resources, but they're up to a 2K lead. Zergy, though, we haven't been watching him much this game, but he's been working up to a nice spot, has rushed that cultist sack. So classic Zergy greed, really scaling for the late game. This Wraith, you see her now, but she could become a huge problem. And even Wraith has the heal Nova.
Oh man, and they're actually just diving on this right-hand tower. Zergy's just been attacking this garden for the entire time. They do take it down, so that's the trade that has been applied with one-win going for the gank in towards middle. So 1-for-1 in towers. And ABL is now free to start roaming around the jungle. And I think this is where they kind of need him to start to step up here, need him to start to get in this game to create those opportunities, because he's not on one of those farm carries, since it's going to be given mostly over to Empty Dreams. With the last tank coming through, they're looking to take this Guardian down, and they will get their flick set unlocked.
And it's going to be a headhunter here from overseas for now. Listic goes down elsewhere on the map. Zania forced with the roll, trying to catch one, but Michaelis dodged away a little bit too cleanly. Demon getting another massive heal, this time from Calico. They're trying to counter pressure on this mid guardian. It's got a lot of HP. Rotations as well coming in now for 1-win team. VP reading the map pretty well, though. They scout this coming. Got to be careful. Overseas with the hook. Would love to find a connection. Would love to pull somebody back into the engagement. But the clean read there by VP keeps them alive.
I mean, the thing is, VP, they're going to need to look for their next Guardian, look for their first flex slot. You can see they rotated in Michaelis to farm solo in the left-hand lane. They've also put Empty Dreams there. So they're going to be having those two going head-to-head, constantly farming away. Those are two people to keep their eye on, as well as Zergy, who looks like he's going to be gifted the right-hand lane. So with committing 2 people to farm, and 1-win putting Zanya in the right-hand lane, I mean, I think 1-win are setting up for actually some more kills. They're looking for some engagements, especially when you have Bebop in middle, the Overseas there, tagged up with Flammable on the lash. They're definitely looking for something.
Bebop's like gun carry build. I mean, I don't think you go headhunter unless you're gonna continue building into gun carry. And so interested to see how that pays off. Now the swap comes in. No ulti available for Listic. Looks to be dead to rights. He's life stealing away though, and with the heal nova has stabilized for a moment. No ulti available for Warden. He's trying to play his way out of this. Geist though feeling the pressure. Yamato showed up now, and with ulti, ABL is going to be enough of a presence to force VP to back off.
And Zon even being ganked a little bit on the right-hand side, forced to go into his goo ball form and to escape. I mean, you've seen Woman. This is like them to a T. Get in the jungle and look for ganks, look for opportunities, and look for kills. And they're doing the exact same thing they did in the prior patch before the shop rework. And Michaelis actually might be getting a catch here.
Paradox looks to be dead to rights here. Potential ulti connection here. It is going to get the execute. Doesn't have reset though. Team's coming in. Lash just barely slips around the corner. Huge survival now from the moment by Michaelis. He's tanking through the damage, getting the heals. They're trying to continue to chase him down with that passive. He is dead to rights here eventually. Does a bit of damage before he goes down. And it's a heavy counter rotation from 1-win team to get that kill. Meanwhile, mid pressure coming down from BP as they look to open up that mid guardian now after quite a while of working at it.
Yeah, then they get that flex slot. And good use actually out of that fight in the left-hand lane to pull the rest of 1-win away. As 1-win go in towards that the mid lane, finding no one, just scraps of their guardian. Maybe can get a chase over onto Obi Kim. Doesn't seem like they're necessarily going to commit to it. I think he's just going to teleport away, or actually might have even gotten in the fight here.
They're on him.
The chase has come through. Abel's been able to get the catch, but the airdrop's going to be there. He's going to be fine. He's going to be safe, and he can rotate now in towards the left-hand side to look for another fight that's about to break down.
Yeah, everyone's coming in here to fight over the buffs. Looks like that was secured for the moment by Lash. Did 1-win team get both buffs? Not sure where the right side buff went. Obakim's still holding down that right lane Guardian, though. Continuing that pressure. Virtus.pro outnumbered on this left side of the map. And that's going to lead to a kill on Sharik. Also an earned pickup for 1-win team. They're going to be able to attempt this turn in if they want to go for it. Under a lot of pressure, though, is Yamato. With ulti, though, so it has the threat to turn around. So does Geist have the ulti, so you got to be careful for 1-win team overextending on this Geist. The threat of the turnaround is very real. Has the heal nova to sustain before that point. But Michaelis goes down, and meanwhile, the ulti from Empty Dreams gets the catch. Warden getting active. Warden's having a pretty solid game. Has that cultist sacrifice as well. Build some pretty defensive item choices here, but so far so good for the Warden.
Yeah, there's actually like one item in particular that kind of stands out there for me. I'm just trying to make sure I got the name right. Yeah, Superior Cooldown he's picked up. So again, makes his cultist sacrifice on a quicker cooldown so he can have it up 100% of the time. Obviously helps his abilities as well than any other items he builds into. But as they do go for the earned turn-in, Virtus.pro, they just give up the turn-in to take themselves another guard, the third guard in the game. Now secured for Virtus.pro as they have a 1k lead, just about that, 1 to 2k. But 1-win are still grouped up on this right-hand side, and they're looking for this last guard themselves.
Zania looking to fight, has full cooldowns. Sharik takes a bit of aggro, but it's kind of chunked here. Forced away. You don't want... Okay, he's a full defensive goo ball. It's not ideal here for Zania. See if he wants to kind of come back in for the re-engage. Has some players alive and surrounding him, helping him out. Zergy, though, coming into the fight, right? Really coming in to participate now. That's the ulti used, connected here on the Yamato. She's trying to dance her way out of this, but the team follow-up is there, and they able to clean up ABL. That's a nice kill for Zergy, who has really come and is bringing a lot of souls to bear. Top of the game right now, with the exception of Empty Dreams. Lash ult used, but doesn't seem to be getting too much done. Now Ivy coming in to continue this fight on, putting the pressure on to Paradox. Xenon forced away. The beam over the top by Overseas, but it's not really connecting on everyone. People are zoned away, but they're surviving for the moment. The knockdown drag out here. Michaelis finds another execute, starting to snowball this one. But Zergy goes down to Empty Dreams, who looks like maybe the strongest hero on the map for the moment. Overseas as well, hunting and pecking from the sides. And one-man team seem to be getting the better of this engagement. But the heal. Never give up.
Never surrender. That's what Buzz Lightyear says. And that's what Michaelis does. He keeps himself up with the health.
We got juked.
Yeah, it happens, man. But that's going to be Viable coming in. Still looking for the chase. I cannot believe this fight is actually still going on because the respawns have come through out of both sides.
ABL. Oh, is he going to live? The heal Nova. Oh my God. He lives. Insane movement from D-Mob. Gets him out of trouble. Stabilizes for the moment. That was a wild fight there. Both teams bringing absolutely everyone so many heal Novas in these heavy team fights. Now one-win team is trying to finally knock down that side guard. And Yamato doesn't quite have the ultimate up. A few seconds of window, but the goo ball now deployed by Xenia, stabilizing ABL. It's going to have that ulti online. Under tower with the goo ball, though, you're not infinitely tanky with that skill. You got to be a little bit careful. Ivy coming in with the airdrop now. Trying to come in with the rotation. Heavy presence here from VP. Everyone but Zergy is in on this fight. See if they can get some of the kills they've been looking for. Ivy getting turned on. Potential threat here. But ABL's the one who ends up falling. Overseas had a relatively quiet game on the Bebop so far, building a bit of gun damage, but kind of wondering, like, where's he going to go with this build? What's the final direction going to be?
I'm more looking at Empty Dreams, who's sitting on 17,000 souls. Like,
He's huge.
He's massive. Like, look how far ahead of he is compared to everyone on his team and everyone on the other team except Zergy. I get what they're doing, but one-win cannot keep going with the strategy. They need him involved in these fights because the last couple minutes have been so skirmishy. We've been front on this right-hand side for such a long time, it feels like now. They need him
he came to the last
do
fight.
some damage.
He came to the last fight. He killed Zergy. You know, he's not AFK farming. He's a team fight contributor. But I do think if they want to knock down key objectives, if they want the 6-on-6, you need to have Warden there. I agree. He's just too much net worth on the map to allow him to be away. But Virtus.pro have kind of, in those last two skirmishes, have eked out a small advantage in the souls where I think they were kind of behind for a little while there in the game. Still no decisive advantage for either team. And they're just trying to hold on to this Guardian. I don't think it's that important for them in the game. It's more just maybe keeping that shop alive, allowing you to keep your players on the map a little bit more aggressively. And both teams going to ready up, get back into the fight.
Looks like we might have a little bit of downtime here, especially the next urn spawn in about a minute time. Maybe it's a good time to bring in Dan. Talk about how he's seen this game play out so far and what it's really caught his eye.
I think mostly it's just like the success of Empty Dreams has been pretty surprising. I didn't have that on my cards for this game. I thought that maybe, you know, it'd be about a story of ABL getting, you know, involved and enabled and overseas as well. I think the gun damage makes a lot of sense, or going that way with the build for overseas on the Bebop, just because that's the natural like weakness in terms of damage. So, and also you can do a lot with you know, voice being able to do a lot with those types of builds with Bebop. So that makes sense. But like, I didn't expect MTGs to be actually owning everyone. So I'll be curious to see what the staying power is, because Sergey's on par with that. So you feel like the late game probably is going to end up being like just an overpowering advantage for VP should this trend actually continue.
Ivy now under assault, swapped, caught, pressure is there, drops a pretty nice fat bag there. Empty Dream's going to be happy about that one. And Xenon who gets that final blow, but another solid kill for the Warden rather. And Oba came down. That's one of your powerful D pushers. Looks like a teleport over to the right side. So they're trying to hit the rotation. Calico though, kind of the perfect hero to scout this one out. And it seems like you're going to be just a little bit too late to contest that right side buff. Hold on, they pull Michaelis off the buff. Somebody else has to grab it in the meantime. Overseas just harassing, trying to maybe bait an engagement.
I think he used the air vent actually to go for that hook, because he was like mid-air as he landed it. Hyper coming through on top to make sure they can pick up the urn, and the fight's gonna be breaking up just as we expected. Shark already down to about half HP. But so is ABL just being left alone here to do as much damage as he possibly can. Listic has the swap, and there it is, and health. The shadow transformation might have been there, but he needs those health Novas. He needs some help from his team to get himself healthy again.
It's getting safe for the moment. Still stabilizing, and the rest of the squad is here, and Zergy's just routing this one out. So VP, they lost one, but they're routing the other side of the map. 6 ultis used by one-win team, and they got the urn pickup. I think this is a win fight for VP, and oh no, Empty Dreams, he cannot die here. Crucial, the hook save should be pulling him out of trouble for the moment, and Zergy, meanwhile, being pressured on the other side of the map. Another hero that you got to keep alive. Lash gets the finish, willing to chase that one down, taking a risk with his own life, and gets rewarded. That kill does, I think, kind of salvage the scenario for VP, or rather for one-win team. The fact that they're able to kill Zergy on the flip side.
600 health, by the way, that ABL healed up when shot transformation with health novas coming through. It's kind of insane. I don't want to keep bashing on it, but that's kind of ridiculous. That definitely needs to be tweaked in the future. But the way things are currently set up right now, Jake, we can see that one win, I think they're committed for this last garden. I don't think they're going to get there in time to contest the urn, but they still do have ABL there, though at half HP. And with no shot transformation available, I don't think he can really contest it by himself.
Yeah, I think if VP bring like one more hero, they should be able to get this urn turn in, no problem. I don't think ABL is in any kind of fighting shape, but they will be losing that side guardian almost guaranteed. They're able to grab Listic as well. Dodge from Holiday, crucial there. I think if you get hooked in, you are just dead to rights here. Now maybe you just keep pushing the side Walker. Although as I say this, I mean, Shriek is here, but he can't get this done himself. Yeah, needs assistance, needs coming in. He's baiting now a bit of this engagement, running in with the urn. Michaelis is making the space, chasing on a Yamato who doesn't have ulti. Should be potentially an easy kill. Execute comes in for Michaelis. He's got that maxed out, so looking to get the resets, looking to stabilize.
I mean, they keep him honest though, because with that play over towards the left-hand side with ABL sacrifice himself, it gives them the free push on the right-hand side to look for the Walker, but the teleports are going to be there in one win. Walker, it will eventually go down, but will it cost you any lives? The last one not going to be available as they try to go for the chase, and Virtus.pro with the help of Shark. Maybe they get
Dreams, that's the best kill you
can.
can find. Can you actually get the kill? Xenon goes down, trying to save Empty Dreams. They know how farmed he is, but the fact that you're able to kill that strongest carry on the map and you're close to the mid boss could be an attempt here for BP if they want to go for it. If they might, opportunity just, do you want to just steal camps or yeah, they're going to go for the mid boss here. Zenya's low. You do have Lash ult and Yamato ult, so there could be an opportunity to get a cheeky contest out, but it's a risky one for one win team. They're going to just bebop laser from the height. It's kind of a sick angle to laser, making it awkward, but you can just LOS that laser. I think it looks more threatening than it really is here.
Oh, shot transformation's up, Jake. They can go for the steal here for one win.
Parry's available. Still grab the last hit for Yamato. Will you get the cleanup kills now, VP? They're so much stronger in this fight. So many more players alive. Cube deployed. It's keeping ABL for the moment. Looks like he's going to be the one who is going to get focus fired down. I think that's a worthwhile steal for one win team. It cost them 2 players' lives. But still, grabbing the rejuve, denying that from VP, pretty important. And the hook in, hold on. This could be an even bigger pick off Zergy. Teleports out for the moment. The stun connection is there. Doesn't seem to be able to play his way out of this one. What a hook on the exit from overseas, really securing the advantage from that team fight.
I mean, with rejuice too, they're all going to be respawned back in. We could see a push on towards another Walker. The mid Walker already down. It's about half HP. And one win just need that one more pickup here for the next flex slot to be opened up. And again, that threat of these hooks coming through, not to mention the paradoxical swaps. And you have to watch out for flammable. It's honestly a triple threat of initiates for one win here. And Virtus.pro have to be so careful about how they approach these fights. I don't even know if you really can feel confident enough to approach them right now. Because Zergy, I mean, he's fed. He's at 21k. But he's not quite fed to the same extent that ABL was last game on the Wraith.
Yeah, and even as strong as you get on Wraith, like if you're getting lash ulted into a death zone, like you don't have the ability to survive a fight like that. Nice crack shot attempt here from overseas, little cheeky hook angle. See if he can get something in. Lash as well, hiding from above. Do they see him coming? Big ulti, 4-man connection. Dumps everyone into the mid, and the follow-up is going to be there. Big death slam. So far, no kills just yet, though. Sharik dancing out of this, staying alive, has the ulti to sustain, and a huge connection from Lash. Now they turn their focus fire onto that mid walker. Many players low on both sides, though, so despite how insane that initial engagement was, this still could be a problem. Health swap comes in from the guys who turns the fight around. VP fighting this one out incredibly well, dropping a few of those rejuves. 2 down on each side. One win team with a much faster response. Empty Dreams relatively low, but the rest of the squad is here. Michaelis and Zergy incredibly powerful, looking to come in and get these cleanups right now. Overseas continuing to fight it out, stabilizing for the moment, but Empty Dreams is going to fall, and Michaelis still on the case, still chasing them down. Zergy has ulti online in a second if they can actually connect onto this bebop, and looks like doesn't read just for the moment where that Viscus ran off to. What a fight.
The death slam was so good in theory, but the hardest part about that is that they got so much extra resistances because of having so many players at that walker that when that death slam came through, they eventually got back under it and they just could not be killed off. They had the wombo, but they didn't have the combo part to it. They still get the walker nonetheless. They get the extra flex slot, but they're still going to be behind in souls here by 6k.
That's a great point. I'm curious what this item is. It's going to be the Siphon Bullets for Raids. So it looks like the Raids have kind of been foregoing the Mercurial Magnum until a little bit later in the build. I mean, it makes sense in a way. Like Siphon is a very greedy item. If you're getting kills with Siphon on, you're building stacks, you can kind of build up to an incredible level. By the way, shout out to the community. Thanks for all the Prime subs through the show. I've been seeing those guys flowing in. It really helps us allow to continue to run this community event. Of course, presented by Intel as well. They're another key part of this, but we couldn't do it without y'all, the community. As this next fight looked to be breaking off on the urn, but Paradox is not here. I mean, do you really want to fight without your Paradox? It's such a key initiator for these type of engagements.
He's here now. Teleported on over. And they're going to have the man advantage considering that Shark's going to be over in the left lane. He has to teleport over towards the right. But Virtus.pro has to be so careful. There's still a lot of big ultimates online here to deny this.
Yamato gets disabled. Has to be Q, but he's incredibly low. Even with the ulti, is in trouble. Ray's ulti pulls Overseas out of his ultimate. Zergy is in on the back lines. Lash looking for some kind of a connection, but it looks like the one-man team getting slaughtered right now. Virtus.pro still very healthy on a lot of players. Michaelis now takes some of the ire of the one-man squad. They turn the focus fire to him, but it's Zergy who's profiting from that kind of a pressure. Execute comes in, snowballing now through the fight. Siphon bullets continuing to connect here for the Shiv, who's really starting to get out of control. Overseas still a damage threat, but Zergy just unmolested through the entire fight, able to pump massive amounts of damage there. Dealt with the Overseas hyper beam from the high ground first. I like that choice with the ultimate, ensuring that the team doesn't have to fight under that massive threat.
I want to say there was a mistake there, and I think it was Zanya not positioned to cube ABL to get the turn in, as the urn has been picked up now out of Obikim to go for it, but ABL took so much damage before he got to do anything. He got cubed at about 200 HP. They had to then go, oh crap, we have to kind of somehow keep him alive or heal him up. And I think it was just a big downward spiral from there. I think it was just that one misplay potentially for one win that just cost him that fight and cost him now a 30k deficit.
And Arctic Blast, Vortex Web picked up. Those are some very powerful team fighting items now. Sharik and Obikim going to be really bogging down their opponents. This is going to make life very hard for Empty Dreams in particular. I think the Warden needs to get in there, needs to be fighting at close range. And if he's just caught in the bog, it's going to be real trouble, especially with somebody like Zergy bringing in that long range damage.
It's ABL's at 19k. He's too far behind on damage. It's all on Empty Dreams, and that's what I was worried about for this comp for one win. If you have ABL or Empty Dreams fall behind, you're not gonna have the damage to get the kills that you need. They have to now really depend on the hooks or the swaps out of Xenon and Overseas to facilitate any initial kills. Like Virtus.pro are just getting too far ahead, and hopefully for one win's sake, they can get a lot of the farm here in the jungle, because they're gonna need it. The comeback mechanics is gonna help quite a bit.
Oh, this is the dream for Ava. So much money. This is actually like one of the fastest farming areas in the game. If you're able to do all these boxes as fast as Ava can, it's like kind of ridiculous. It's like better than the big camps by a lot, I think.
It should be like souls per second.
Yeah, like
ridiculous.
Not even considering the statue buffs. I mean, this is so like this is, you know, having Calico on your team is just unlocking farm that I feel like you would just never be using efficiently with another hero in the draft. He's got fortitude now as well. He's just going to be running warp speed. This is ridiculous.
Again, I wish we had like a stat of like how many souls were gained from boxes, because I think you would see Calico players just consistently be at the top. And when you start to see those differences between teams, I think that you're starting to see like those little edges that pro players look to get.
Okay,
in all these
100%
games.
100% uptime. Cool. This is heinous. He could just do this all game.
Cooldown, man.
This is like kind of mesmerizing to watch, actually. Like low key, I'm down with this. This is a chill vibe. I guess while we have this moment to just chill and look at cats, we can also bring in Dan. How do you feel about this game? Thinking about that last team fight with how much impact Zergy in particular was able to have, Dan. Do you think there's a way back into this for one-man team?
Well, quickly, I'll just say, yeah, we should have some like lo-fi music playing whilst we're like following the Ava. But yeah, it felt like, to be honest, Woman were already just living on borrowed time due to the rejuice still previously, because honestly, like losing that fight, it was initially like a 30k deficit. After all is said and done, and I don't think, like we talked about the scaling issues as well. Empty Dreams was able to stay ahead, but nobody else that needs to be turning up into the late game is able to kind of get that momentum happening. And one way that you can maybe achieve that is by being able to continually force the other team to react to you. But that wasn't really, I think, there was not enough threat, and I think it's got a lot to do between like the Michaelis, Zuggy, Listic and Sharik just like having just these two like incredibly strong in your face brawlers, and then having just an insane amount of DPS in the backline you can't even get to. And the last like big team fight inflection point that we saw around the end on the left side of the map, you had a scenario where the great ult usage from VP and the positioning wasn't great for one win, and one win just got separated in the fight and just picked off one by one. And so it's just that to me was like the last big team fight that could have maybe gone better if one win had better positioning. Maybe there would have been a chance, but now it seems very hard to recover based just on the late game fortitude now.
They've got the Colossus on Yamato, which could help him maybe tank through some of those stun control threats, at least opening the team fight. We've seen him get kind of focus fired. He has been in a pretty rough spot, but maybe Colossus can be starting to shift that. The difficult urn turn in is pretty scary, especially with both walkers still available. I mean, this is an area of the map you don't really want to be spending a lot of time if you're a VP, even with a pretty significant, almost 30k soul lead. You still got to be a little bit respectful. And One Min are grouping. They are looking for the pick-off comeback situation.
I never heard a Meow be so terrifying. As Flammable immediately runs away here in Shark in close proximity. They're trying to keep that line, trying to keep that position, but while they're here, they're not farming. Upside is neither is Virtus.pro, but Virtus.pro are still sporting about a 30k lead, so they're not going to care too much. We do see the initial catch on Michaelis. He gets locked down. No, he gets escaped.
That's huge.
Sorry for the binding word, but he's still going to be pushed on here by One Win, knowing they have to take him down.
The goo ball's here, but there's not really follow-up, and he's getting lassoed now. Such a long duration lasso under the walker as well, in a lot of trouble. Does have that debuff remover, I think, to be able to get out of dodge for the moment. And he held a lot of aggro, and that's made a little bit of time, but they haven't really been able to damage the other players from VP. And Michaelis is back, full HP. The help of these heals is absolutely massive. Now we see Empty Dreams, though, on the Warden, able to really get in, trying to chase down, trying to finish off Holiday, who's just been too slippery, too tricky. Juking away for the moment. Should be finally getting this kill. Now has a bit of help from the squad, and a nice pull in onto Ivy, who instantly stone forms, able to stabilize for the moment. First kill on a D-Mob, and it's overall a stable fight now. VP down one. They kind of want to keep forcing this issue with all the ultis that have been expended from One Win team. And given the soul advantage, you feel pretty good about the ulti here. Zergy, though, starting to pump damage now, and there's no ultis left to deal with Zergy. He's able to really start taking over in this team fight. The fact that the execute miss, though, does, yeah, it does reduce some of the threat from him, but yeah, it's Bebop forced to juke away in a difficult pattern. And this is where Zergy is really going to start heating up. With those two kills, do you go for the mid boss? Do you look to finish off walkers? Choices now for VP.
I mean, insane amount of space created by Zanya there, right? Forcing three people to focus him while he's in the goo ball in enemy territory. The downside is Virtus.pro, or not Virtus.pro, One Win just couldn't confirm any kills off the space that he created because of the raw soul difference between these two teams. And Empty Dreams, I think he's just gonna die here.
Warden in real trouble. Yeah, bursted down inside of the base. Overplaying his hand there significantly. I don't think he had any business being out there in the fight. And that's going to be a very solid opening to go grab that mid boss if you want it for VP, and I think they're going to want it. Calico, meanwhile, looking to intercept that urn. Could try and grab it away from Paradox. Does force the drop, and Paradox is now in trouble. Swap misses as well. Great grab and steal there. Awareness from Sharik to go contest that urn drop. Do you even want to try this urn? It looks like it's going to be mid boss as the priority. Makes a lot of sense, but I mean, MTG is down for 40. I think you get the urn done too.
The ABL has ult, though. Strat transformation could be big. He already stole it once. Can he do it yet again here? Is he going to commit to it? Looks like he is just too far away.
Running to get mid. The urn running back to the mid is hilarious. Michaelis going to try and chase that one down. Looks like, or rather, Calico. Sharik's the one who grabs it. You got a midway pushing in on you. It looks like Zergy's going to be the one to go deal with that. But One Win team, I think without Warden, it's so risky to fight this. You're just looking for like a bebop hook, some kind of deep initiation. Roll, use, okay. Sharik's just going to back off. And I think VP are kind of happy to get a fight started. Zergy can kind of make his way over to this. Looks like it's not popping off too incredibly quickly. Calico forced the drop. He's going to use the ulti to stabilize for the moment. Yamato's still healthy. Has that Colossus. Could look to chase this down. Yeah, Colossus used. Staying on top of Sharik, who's dancing away well. Jumps up, trying to make it to a pad. It falls back to the low ground. I think it's a mistake from Sharik. Yeah, gets cut down for his troubles. And Zergy as well is very low now, under the pressure. Withering fire coming in from this raid. Just licensing through everything. Warden can't quite get the kill. Does get it done in the end, but D-Mob and Michaelis are starting to heat up. It's Shiv. Needs to take over this game, and the front line is cracking from One Win team. And oh no, the ABL disconnect in the crucial moment. Oh, that's so painful for One Win team.
That's, yeah, probably one of the worst things that could happen. I don't know how long he was disconnected there, but again, realistically, with Flammable, Empty Dreams, Zanya all dead, would he be enough to turn this around with Michaelis and Listic still alive, both having ultimates still online? I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it is definitely a rough time for ABL. But honestly, it looks like we're going to be going to map 3 at this rate. Yeah, they might have an answer for Shark there, but Zergy just survived for so long on his 39,000 souls up against the last stand of Empty Dreams. And then you still have two other power hitters with Listic and Mikhail S still alive, ready to fight.
Shout out, by the way, to Millie Moogle in the chat. Dropped 5 gifted a couple minutes ago. Appreciate that. And I think you're right. I think, honestly, Zergy is so far ahead of the game. One-man team are forced to just dump everything onto him to try to deal with him. But that allows Listic and Mikhail S to really step it up and to start to kind of clutch out these team fights. There's a lot of threats across the board on VP. And now with these rejuve respawns, it's looking like a really tough fight. ABL is also, by the way, like in a very awkward position in the back line. I don't know that VP know about that, but see if he comes into this fight, if he wants to take it. He is going to engage. He does have the ulti. Forced to pop it a little bit early. Listic is low, but the health swap could be devastating. Yeah, and ABL is incredibly low now. Health swapped in. Just 4v1 is impossible in this type of a game. And it's free reign on the map for Virtus.pro. They're going to be able to get mid walker, clear the bags. They're going to be able to do earn. They're just going to do everything all at once. And even Paradox could be under threat here. Ivy behind tower, but doesn't want to take the dive with the threat of overseas.
At least the earn reset in that fight, so it actually didn't get turned in. But it's going to be turned in now. Actually would have been even worse if Virtus.pro got the turn in, then it respawned, and they get a second turn off the back of that. Then again, I mean, 40k up. I don't think they need the extra, 8,000 souls anyways.
Oh my
the way
God.
They've been playing this game.
4,300 HP Shiv. If he goes like Juggernaut, that would be so ridiculous right now. I'm curious what he's going to buy. And it should be maybe a patron drop here for one-man team. Xenon could look to go for like a swap into the throne, though. You got to be a little bit cautious of that, especially now with Lash as well. There's a lot of counter initiation. Right now, Overseas just going to drop the laser, try to clear the base, but the knockdown being used, they bought the item ready. I haven't seen the knockdown built in weeks, but of course, a great answer to the Bebop threat. Cube forced out from Viscus, and yeah, but he is just not in a happy place right now. Swarmed by VP players. The blink in from Zergy, though, very aggressive moves. Could be taking a bit of a risk there. Has to fall back very hard to try and survive. Flash ulti big, forces people deep, very close to the throne, in an awkward position to continue to fight from. But Mikhail S is so incredibly tanky, barely touching his health bar in that. Patron being dropped right now by Zergy, just pumping damage. He's got that armor-piercing round, so you just cannot stand and deliver against this Wraith at the current farm he's at. And look at him, the trackball is on fire. He's deleting these players one by one, not allowing them to be healthy, even in their own base, in their own healing. The lifesteal is massive. His HP also 3,500, ridiculous. Patron dropping quickly, and Virtus.pro forcing decisive game 3, shutting down one win, getting their hands on the Wraith and the Shiv. Maybe something that cannot be allowed to happen in this meta.
So what was the big change between match 1 and match 2? I feel like it was pretty obvious. It was just Wraith. It was either ABL dominating on Wraith in match 1, or was Zergy doing the same here in match 2. A ridiculous showing out of both those two individual players in this game. But again, you hit that critical mass point for Virtus.pro. Once Zergy got so far ahead, once Mikhail S and Listic didn't really fall off, there's just too many threats to deal with for the one-win side that they could not overpower them in time. They didn't have the damage. You do have to wonder if maybe they changed things up. Maybe they didn't have the Bebop and they had something else. Maybe they didn't have the Lash and they went with another damage dealer, or a more of a secure damage dealer. Could have things changed? Well, we're not going to be able to answer that question, but we at least will be able to see a third map between the two. And honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go here. I think Wraith might move up in priority even more now after the last showing.
Yeah, I wonder if the team that doesn't get first pick is going to be just first banning Wraith to not have to deal with it. But then, I think Shiv still very strong. I think Abrams can be a problem. I also got a shout out to Empty Dreams. He got the pocket ban this game, but on the Warden was fantastic, was like the sole hero for one-man team. And although they lost, he was putting in work. He was able to deal with the Warden, or rather the Wraith, in some of those fights, able to pilot pretty immaculately there. Geist also top damaging for VP there. Pretty impressive. I didn't actually expect that with how much damage that Zergy was dealing in these fights. Geist looked amazing. I mean, it kind of makes me wonder why we haven't seen Geist last week at all. And, or rather like just being super low prio in the last few games. So it makes sense to me. The Geist still looks amazing. I wonder if it will be, returning to pick priority, especially for a team like VP that has historically valued Geist really high.
I mean, it's so also really good to deal with like a Yamato too, because you can drop her down. Extremely low health just with that soul exchange. Also, same for Warden. You can get him extremely low that you can put him in range to be killed. You're always that threat, but you always have to walk that fine line as a Geist in these games, that you have to keep your health low, but also know when you're about to be bursted down so you can go for that swap in time. And speaking of swaps, maybe it's time to swap back in our third person of Dan to break down this last game, because we're going to a map 3 here, Dan. And this one, I mean, I don't say it was just as one-sided as the first match, but it ended up being that way with Zergy.
Yeah, I think, the stuff we highlighted with the comp at the beginning just kind of played out that way, where you can see some parts of it working and just other parts of it just being a bit awkward, to get it all, being just, wait, what's the word? Copacetic? I don't know. It sounds like a smart word. But
It is a smart word.
But I think the interesting thing is that there were lots of options to prevent this from happening in the draft. If we think back to the draft order that we saw at a 1-win, they kind of put themselves in this position where they gave up a lot of high priority picks very early on and opted to go, first pick Paradox, and they didn't get Yamato until Yamato was literally the last option left, and already 4 or 5 picks has gone ahead of that, where they maybe could have picked up something, at least balancing it out by getting Calico instead, as opposed to giving up both the Wraith and the Calico. I feel like if the Wraith is going to be in the game and not banned, and it's not going to go their way, they need to at least also have the Calico. Because we obviously saw how impactful that could be, and just the lack of playmaking damage in particular, I think from 1-win really stymied their ability to get back in, even if it was the case that I think between Empty Dreams and also some of the great hooks that we even saw there from overseas enabled them to keep up in certain respects. Keeping up is not good enough. You have to be able to actually convert on advantages that you can get. But the problem is that VP's comp was just too strong. Just having the insanely tanky heroes that were really brawly in your face, like we saw with Shiv and the Calico, in addition to having the guys come on online a bit later, and then having the Wraith just so much damage in the back. It's just too much. It's just too much. I think this is a build order loss if for the RTS fans out there, or a draft loss. Makes more sense to say. I
think Dimov also looked great on the holiday, and 1-win team has been ultra hyper prioritizing Paradox through the all day, and they have been winning a lot. However, this was a game where it felt the Paradox didn't look, it looked worse than the holiday. Holiday was able to be brawling deeper into these long engagements and looking effective when the numbers started dropping down a little bit lower. The lasso catches were also quite good and able to pull apart the team fights very nicely. I'm curious if that's another place you could maybe change something up for a 1-win team. I don't think Paradox is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been first picking it every game, which is maybe giving up some of these strong picks to VP.
It's interesting too, because 1-win historically were a team that actually would just pick 3 playmakers one after the other if they could have. That's something we used to see them doing all the time. So it's kind of an interesting departure from that trend, especially as it seems to be the case that that's actually why they might be losing here. Because if you think about it from an opportunity cost perspective, if they're going to first pick Paradox, we should feel the impact of the first pick in the game. And if we aren't feeling it, then something very wrong is happening.
Yeah, and then why not just pick the Wraith then at that point? We will definitely going to have that impact, that level of impact you're looking for in these games. I don't know. I don't know what's going on within the draft order of 1-win. Obviously, what they've been doing has been working in the past. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it now. But a switch up here would be ideal. And because they lost that map, they get choice at first pick. And I believe they're going to give first pick over to Virtus.pro like they did in the initial match, I would guess. Meaning that frees them up for 2 picks for themselves. But will Wraith be first pick by VP? It's only one way to find out.
We'll have to see getting into that next game. Of course, Intel, by the way, guys, is putting on a giveaway for us here at Deadlock Fight Night. So make sure to go over to deadlockfightnight.com, throw your hat in the ring. We're giving away a very fancy CPU here for all of y'all's builds. Get those computers up to spec for Deadlock. So make sure to go over, throw your hat in the ring. It's free. You might as well give it a shot. Thanks to Intel for helping us put on the show, and for, of course, doing a giveaway for the lovely community members we have here. We're going to have to send things to a quick break. We're going to let the teams hit the showers, reset, think about what they want to do in this ultimate game 3. Jason, you don't have to make that weird. You don't have to. It wasn't weird. You made it weird
in this break.
You made it weird, but all right. We'll have to see after this quick break. Don't go anywhere, guys. Right back with our decisive game in Deadlock Fight Night number 26 money match presented by Intel. Welcome back, everybody, to Deadlock Fight Night number 26, presented by Intel. We're here in the European money match. Virtus.pro trying to defend their championship crown up against 1-win team, who won the first game of the series, but got kind of resoundingly beat down in game 2, giving up to Shiv and the Wraith. Looks to be a pretty big mistake that VP were happy to run with.
Yeah, and of course, as we know, everyone out there watches Deadlock Fight Night on every Wednesday, because why wouldn't you be here? So it seems are the creators of the game, because they have dropped a patch on us mid-event. A 520 megabyte patch, if I'm not mistaken, with some changes in here, with some items that we've been discussing. I think we should maybe dive into a couple of these, Jake, because some of them are quite important.
Yeah, let's bring in ZP as well, our analyst for the series, to just talk this over. So first, the express shot nerf seems like mostly targeted Yamato. I don't know if I saw anybody else building express shot, frankly. Like maybe, or I guess, it was also maybe used on the carbine too. But you know, maybe it was maybe a little bit ridiculous, frankly, on Yamato and Paradox. So maybe taking those out. I wonder if it really gets built at all, though, because I just, like I said, I hadn't seen it much on other heroes.
I think this express shot change is actually going to change draft priority, because Yamato was getting picked relatively high in the draft, and the express shot build was the #1 build that was getting used. So express shot, I think the hesitancy here, it still could be good on Yamato, it still could be good overall, and you know, its general use is actually better for the non-ult fire heroes, but to happen mid-tournament, like in the middle of the day, maybe the last that we see of it here today. Also, Headhunter is really interesting because people were rushing Headhunter in lane as your first major item, in part because of the sustain that you were able to get on top of the damage, and both the sustain and the damage got hit. So it may change the Headhunter rushing that we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah, siphon bullets as well. Yeah, you go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, we saw obviously Siphon Bullets get a slight tweak as well when it came to how quickly you can apply those stacks. Pair that with superior cooldown and it applies even quicker. The fact is they reduce the amount of health you get from it per hit by 10, which is honestly quite significant. Not to mention they recently moved over from bullet resist to spirit resist. They dropped that on Siphon Bullets as well. So maybe there's a chance we don't see Siphon Bullets being picked up quite heavily in these games as well. But honestly, I wouldn't take too much of what you see in this next match into consideration, considering the pros have had about 5 minutes to adapt to the patch.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they adjust their builds. I feel like the Siphon was being built maybe a little bit too much. Like almost everyone who used their gun at all was building Siphon as like pretty much the first of those 6K items when it comes to like the damage dealing, and the fact that it has like snowballing sustain and tankiness and also does pretty massive damage in its own right, definitely problematic. So good to see the Siphon getting nerfed. I don't think these changes are really game defining, especially because Heal Nova didn't get nerfed, which to be fair, honestly, to the devs, I did not realize Heal Nova was this busted until we saw one win coming today and buy 6 of them. That was a little bit absurd. And then now VP has followed right behind that. I wouldn't be shocked to see Heal Nova get touched maybe in another patch
for
coming
the NA
up.
matches, Jake. That's for that. We're gonna have another patch.
Yeah, that's I hopefully not, but we'll have to see. In VP though, they're gonna have to figure out how to navigate this draft because like you said though, they've been forced into the first pick seat, which I don't think is the favorable seat right now. And another Mirage first ban. Interesting choice.
I'll be honest, I think you should ban the Wraith. I mean, look, there's a lot of other factors that have gone in to the series so far, but also the team that has had Wraith has won. And I don't think the Wraith was an insignificant part of that for either of the two teams. I think if you're one win here, regardless of what you're banning in turn, you make sure that one of your first 2 picks coming in here is going to be Wraith, and also not banning the Shiv. I mean, you can open up Shiv Wraith. I feel like to me,
Wraith ban comes in.
That's right. Okay,
now VP has to think, do you want Shiv or Abrams? I think that's probably the tougher choice. I think I'm leaning Shiv. But because if you don't take Shiv, you take Abrams, you give up Shiv Kelvin, which is scary.
Yeah.
But Abrams Kelvin also scary.
Just clarify one thing real quick. For a second, I was thinking one win had first pick, even though that was clearly stupid. So I think the first ban Wraith actually really smart. You don't deal with the Wraith, and that's good. However, they give up a lot of power here, Jason.
Whoa.
Abrams Shiv?
Abrams Shiv is a god start here. I think that's exactly what they should take. I think Abrams Shiv is insane.
That's gonna be quite dangerous for Virtus.pro. I mean, again, we talked about one win picking Paradox right off the bat in a lot of these games so far, and we kind of question like maybe you should be picking like Wraith, or maybe you should be picking like another hero. But with the Wraith ban coming through, we have finally seen a shift up, and they do go for the Abrams. But do they go for the Abrams Vindicta, Abrams Kelvin lane, or do they go for the Shiv as a second pick?
I think you take Abrams Shiv, because then VP's in a weird spot where it's like you have to take Kelvin just to deny it, because Abrams and Shiv with Kelvin, that's like too much, you know? But then you don't really have Kelvin synergy heroes for VP. Really interesting to see how they're going to go about this draft, especially with Wraith ban.
So you need a monster.
Yeah, they do.
Like, I think VP has to take Kelvin, but they don't want to. It's like I guess you could take Kelvin Warden. That would probably be my draft here if I was VP, is Kelvin Warden. Warden can maybe be the frontliner you need and can maybe synergize with the Kelvin a little.
They 100% need to take the Warden at a minimum, but I agree. I think like you can grab both here and it would be completely fine. Especially given the fact that I think, with Wraith out of the picture, I think Warden's comparative value on the game goes up. And the fact that you think about the nerfs that came in, things like Yamato are a little bit weaker. And yeah, I mean, Warden's a little bit weaker relative to builds because Wardens were rushing Headhunter. But I think Warden will be fine even if he like changes up the build a little bit early on. So the Warden counter pick here is definitely the place to go. I think maybe without the patch, you would have seen like a Yamato potentially come in, if not the Shiv, but or if not the Kelvin rather. But I think, okay, they leave the Kelvin open. I think if you're 1-win, this is the quickest Kelvin lock of your life.
Almost assuredly, right? I mean, 1-win has been a team historically that hasn't liked Kelvin that much compared to most teams, but this is too tempting, right? Like you have the two best frontliners in the game, I think it's fair to say right now. In Abrams and Shiv, they both are insane synergizing with Kelvin.
Yeah, but if they
Seems
go
like
Kelvin,
a no-brainer.
they go Kelvin, you can ban Holiday, and then they have only a Bebop as a pick potential, which kind of like
but you could go Lash,
initiation.
right? You could grab like a Lash as another response.
Yeah, that's true.
What does 1-win team want to ban? I would think about banning like a Geist, maybe. It actually ended up being really strong for VP in the last game. Calico, that's another good point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hate seeing the Cali ban.
Okay. Yeah, I think banning the Calico makes sense. Calico has been valued really heavily by both teams, and if you stop and think about it, you've already secured a really good front line for 1-win. You don't necessarily need to run the Calico yourself, but I think it is a guarantee that VP would have picked it if it were available. So yeah, the ban Calico was the proper call here, but VP also probably responds here with ban Holiday. You'd have to think.
You got my hopes up.
Yep, makes a lot of sense here. Just denying some of that initiative. I mean, with the front line you have on 1-win team, if you get lassoed into this, you are donezo. Like it is such a sick follow-up combo between the Abrams and the Kelvin.
For Virtus.pro.
Oh, I kind of like that. I like the idea of I think 1-win should steal it away because I like it so much. I think it's actually really good at potentially punishing these like heavy front lines from 1-win or from from 1-win. If 1-win steal the pocket for themselves, there it is,
bro.
They deny it from the other squad. This is so powerful.
Oh, my brain and predictions. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, you take it away. Also, pocket. Shiv is the only hero who can die to affliction. If you guys didn't know.
Oh yeah, because he dies to his passive. Yeah. I noticed that on Shiv. I was like, wait, I died to the pocket ult, and then.
So that would also be like a good counter to Shiv too, and also to Kelvin's Frozen Shelter. So I still steal away, and honestly, kind of digging 1-win. I just want to see like what's their range carry gonna be. Like, is it gonna be Infernus? Is it gonna be 7? I wouldn't hate 7. You don't have to worry about Last Stand.
I don't mind this. I like 7 Kelvin. You like 7 ulti in the Kelvin dome. It's like welcome to hell.
I like the idea of 7. I am not sold on Furnace, even though I do think Infernus looks better when you don't have just the ridiculous comparison of a Wraith on the other side. Okay, so VP comes in the Viscous.
I like the Viscous. I think this is actually a really good Viscous pick. I think that provides some potential counter to Pocket, because I believe that, well, I don't know if you're going to ever max Cube now that I say that. It's maybe not realistic. But at least you can save people who get like Abrams pinned or you can save them from the execute from Shiv and try to turn the fighter out. I think.
Well, can you save it? Because execute goes through the cube unless that was changed.
Does it?
Yeah, it goes through cube.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's a bug or not, but it does go through cube.
Really?
I'll be honest. I still don't love Bebop in this patch. I feel like the item change was really, really bad for Bebop. And even though 1-win has played well with Bebop in the past, I'll be honest. I look at the last game. I think Bebop was probably, in addition to letting the Wraith through, is probably one of the draft errors they had. I get that they want initiation and they feel like they need a source of it here, but the Bebop takes a little bit of the shine off the beginning of this draft for me. But the Sinclair, on the other hand, versus Warden, we didn't even get a chance to touch on that.
Didn't talk about him.
Yeah, that saves a lot, actually. I think Sinclair is really, really good. Yeah. Overall, I think if the Bebop is actually just able to have good hooks, even if the Bebop fall off is bad, it's still not bad at all for 1-win here.
Yeah, I still think I maybe would have rather had something like a Lash, but you know, not the end of the world. Bebop, definitely a comfort pick for 1-win team. And maybe you're gonna bring out the GT. Okay,
bro.
And
I don't like it. I
do think you're running out of options though. Like, I don't think 7 is playable into Bebop in particular. Maybe that's part of the thought of the Bebop pick, is that like you can't really play 7. You're just gonna get hooked and You're gonna hook to the low ground and then like stunned and nuked to death by everyone on one win team. And so GT can maybe be a little bit more evasive. The global presence could help in the early game.
Is this Gun Ivy Zergy or is this Lady Geist Zergy? Because that's
I don't think
a great
surely
talent.
this is not Gun Ivy, right?
It might be. There's a world where it is, and they go more supportive on the Viscous.
I think it's gonna be Zergy Geist, and it's gonna be Listic Great Talon, Sharik on Warden, Michaelis on Paradox. But the thing is, I was literally watching Listic today on stream play Great Talon. He was complaining at how crap GT is at the moment. You can't play GT Spirit anymore. You got to play him Bullet GT, and he does do like decent damage. I've seen some builds Hoot's been rocking out, but the GT here, I don't know if I'm feeling it. You do have the safety. You do have a decent front line to protect you to just pummel out damage, but you have to hit like a certain critical threshold of farm to even get to that point.
I think that first 3 that one win have is like it's just too broken. I think if you get Abrams, Jim, Kevin, I feel like you almost already won. The back half of the draft, I don't like as much for one win team, but I love the pocket. I will say, like, sealing that away was great. It's a comfort pick for a one win team. I kind of like their odds coming into this. The chance to unseat our previous champions in Virtus.pro, one win team want to take their rightful place, or so they would think, on top in Deadlock Fight Night number 26. But of course, it all has to be decided in the server draft. It helps. It sets you up. Sure, it matters. But you got to be able to execute. We've seen from one win team before in that opening challenger match how they snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. So it's anybody's game here coming into our ultimate match.
What I'll say this before I hand it off to you two as the game gets underway is that I feel like VP has given themselves like a pretty tough win condition here where there's a few things that they have to avoid. Number one is that they have to avoid just getting completely run over in the Shiv Kelvin lane, which we've seen be possible earlier in the day. So it's not impossible to do well against, but still very tough to deal with. And then on top of initiation wise, they still have to get really good value out of the Paradox and Greytown when they're at their best, which is right after you hit 3K. Like, I think if you're going to get value in GT in this current game where he's considerably weaker relative to the last patch, you have to just be getting fantastic owl pressure in the beginning of the game where it's catching people off guard and really doing a lot. So to me, I think the 3K phase of the game is so important for VP to get ahead, because if it is even to one win team being slightly ahead, I think the front line of one win team is just going to be way too much for VP to deal with.
It's going to be Zergy on the Warden. We also have to see how the Great Talon fares. I think the Great Talon has been untouched for the last couple weeks since this patch came out. That's going to be the key question. It's a scary lane too. Going up against Bebop, getting hooked in is not what you want to have happen here on GT.
Can we just like quickly focus on the fact that Zergy's playing Warden? Because if I'm not mistaken, he's played 4 heroes in total in DFN history. I'm gonna just double check that really quickly. And Warden wasn't one of it.
Has he not played Warden? I played Warden.
He's played 6. Haze and Furnace, Ivy, Geist, 7, Wraith. He's never played Warden in DFN.
It doesn't shock me though, because Warden, I don't think it's that crazy, right? It is mostly just your, gun damage carry hero.
But he has a 100% win rate on Wraith with 13 games played. Sorry to interject there. That's insane.
Oh, big dive under tower, but overextension here. Looks like from Abrams getting shut down, chasing down the Ivy, couldn't get the finish. Obikim, 1 HP, trying to dance away. Xenon couldn't get the cleanup. And once he's able to reset with the healing right, that would be such a great start to the lane for the Ivy. Shriek kills Xenon as well. So, okay, VP taking over in that side lane. It's a nice start to them. If they can recover their HP, if they can maybe grab a healing Nova, perhaps, that could be a really scary lane.
Healing Nova, huh?
That would be very innovative if they were to buy Healing Nova. That would be perfect for the situation.
Never seen that before. I wonder, I think they fixed that bug a long time ago where you could like buy Healing Nova, use it, sell it, buy it, and then you have the cooldown off cooldown again.
No, they should probably put that back in the game because Healing Nova is not that strong.
It's not innovative
right now,
enough,
so. Yeah, we need to up the innovation quotient here. And GT's saving. I'm curious what he's saving for.
Actually, I'm trying to think. I want to think Cultist, actually.
Yeah, but you would still buy Monster, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm like unsure. Stoneform comes in. It's a little bit of stun, forced to the back way. It's actually interesting to see that like the Sinclair Abrams lane is actually being forced to play a little bit defensive here, considering Like they have a lot of power in lane, a lot of poke, and a lot of like kill potential.
Nice box run here from Ivy. She's able to steal a couple of those away. Come back now to help out on the Geist. Abrams chasing for this, but I don't think you can take that fight of your Abrams. Listic, though, meanwhile in the mid lane, is getting caught. Empty Dreams gets that burst kill.
Almost playtime, boys and girls.
The One team are not backing down from the aggression, even after taking a couple deaths in that right side lane. They're continuing to force the fight, and they're not really that far behind. Sharik, the one who's reaped some of the rewards in that lane.
And I'm still not familiar fully with all the items and how they look right now, but I'm trying to look really quickly what that item Bebop has.
I think it's just like the bullet resistance. Yeah, it's just like very boring item, just raw bullet resistance, which I guess makes him really harassment resistant in lane. Kind of surprised to see it go first, though, because there's not really any scaling potential from that.
You do gain weapon damage and bonus fire rate when you're above 65% health, though, with it. So
okay,
kind of feeds into the bullet build, the gun build. Bebop.
Yeah, so maybe just him being, he's like so confident in not taking damage, he's just willing to fight that. It still feels like against GT Viscus that you would get nuked for a while, but I guess okay, we've got the healing Nova on Pocket to ensure that the Bebop is lasering. Ultimate comes in there from Pocket. Yeah.
CP, I heard, you wanted to say something.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just gonna. Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say it's the reworked combat barrier, basically.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
is where it's at. So obviously you don't have bullet shields anymore, but you still get the benefit effectively.
Big hook pulling in. Listic in big trouble right now. Hit by a Spirit Snare, but surely they have the follow up for this great talent. He's cubed, but he's in such an awkward spot. Looks too difficult. Oh, parry though. Hold on. The laser from over the top though, massive from overseas, dumping damage, clearing this wave. And they might be a very early mid-Guardian takedown right now for One Win Team.
Zergy with the last stand on the left-hand side gets a kill onto ABL. Now the goo ball going to become rolling through. And honestly, Dima would probably just back away, trying to keep them away from the tower. Listic, uncharacteristically, I should say, just now getting his ultimate online. So obviously Flammable still just about to get it as well. Another kill comes through on the right-hand side. Al going to be coming through as well to look for the kill on the Zanya, who's already low HP. He gets knocked by it. And he should be finished off here in just a second, but I'm assuming he had a health Nova to keep himself alive as he has returned back towards base. But that Guardian's going to take a lot of damage.
Bebop grabs the health buffs, going to be headed back toward mid. Yeah, that right side lane has really been the bane of One Win Team's existence. Tariq off to a very hot start in this game. Zergy, I believe, found a kill for himself, and it looks like he's rushing that cultist sack. Going to get some of that snowball online a little bit early. I think Zergy is going to be a pretty key player this game. I think Warden, the ability to stand and deliver into like the Kelvin Dome, into Shiv and Abrams, that's a very tall order. But if he can manage, if Warden can be that force, I mean, we saw from Empty Dreams last game how a farmed Warden can be a massive threat, can be a playmaking beast, essentially. Cube is going to be the perfect answer there, keeping GT alive, denying any of the follow-up damage.
Oh,
Listic staying very aggressive despite being on super low HP, no swap available. And Ivy's diving deep under tower, wants to shut down this Abrams. Nice melees there coming in.
Help Nova though. Completely mitigates all that damage the melees did. Zani goes back and doesn't realize that they're still very healthy because of the health Nova. And they pick up another kill. VP is on a stampede in this game.
Yeah, great start in the early game. I think that's what they need with the draft that they've gone for. Don't want to let Shiv and Kelvin Abrams hit that critical mass. I'm also curious to see Listic, what he ends up building. But this Lady Geist has gone for a very heavy sustain build, and so she's able to be aggressive. Normally we see Geist, I feel like you get a kill off your swap, and then you have like a very weak couple of minutes, but this game it's been very different. I mean, Dimov is like ungodly tanky in the goo ball, though. Really no risk of that. But meanwhile, Listic just got dove and solo killed by Pocket. Okay. That could be another opportunity to clear this mid Guardian. Seems like a pretty difficult one to defend, especially with no goo ball. And Bebop just super aggroing.
Yeah, you can see the respect being given to it by D-Mob backing away. This is it's getting very tough for Virtus.pro, honestly. One Win able to push down the mid lane. Guardian, that's the first Guardian of the game now done 7 minutes in. But more importantly, it's kind of been about Listic falling far behind. I mean, I talked to before about how Great Talon, I mean, before this patch was insanely strong. In patch, I mean, with the item rework, but has definitely fallen off. Used to be
Zania again in big trouble. And this Abrams is getting absolutely slaughtered this game. I mean, that's a very bad start for Abrams, one of the best heroes of the patch, it seemed. The bird comes in from afar. Listic, despite getting punished in the mid lane, is able to have a little bit more impact on the side lanes. this Guardian is going to be going down. So a trade of Guardians. Both teams have knocked one. And the Shiv Kelvin lane has been relatively quiet. You know, they've been mostly defensive. They haven't cleared the Guardian just yet. Now they're putting a lot of pressure on with the help of a Bebop rotation. Warden doesn't have ulti. He's not too confident about taking this fight. Slowing Hex on Kelvin, but he just dashes away from that, no problem. And the beam over the top is pretty scary. You could swap him in though. Just a second.
I'm liking that slowing Hex though that Michaela's picked up, because it makes it so Zanya can't charge, makes it so ABL can't dash, and it really like limits the mobility. This is a big dive. Nice swap.
He canceled the swap.
Oh, he actually stopped the execute with the paradoxical swap.
So insane, beautiful performance. It's not going to be quite enough though to really turn the fight around. Pretty sick play from Michaela S.
Who needs counterspell when you have paradoxical swap to save you from the execute?
Abrams low, trying to juke out. Ivy gonna get a big stun on them. Now with the help of Geist fighting in the small room, it's anybody's guess who's gonna be the stronger hero. Looks like Swap is available for was that copied by Xenon. Zania starting to be in trouble here, trying to get healed up from that passive, but it's not that level just yet. And Ivy, so chaotic fighting here in the room. They're trying to bait each other. Ballistic comes in with the bird from afar that shuts down Xenon. It seems like they're going to be cutting their losses here on VP, not wanting to continue to hard chase. Zania getting just a little bit too much heal over time, especially with that heal booster.
I mean, we're seeing a big trade, right? Like mid lane for Virtus.pro has been really weak, but their right hand lane has been very strong, punishing Zanya and Xenon over and over again. But the last tank comes through and the binding word. ABL, don't think you're going to survive this one. He will fall before he gets the melee off, and this might be Virtus.pro taking themselves another Guardian, getting their flex set unlocked.
Yeah, it's just that. And Zergy really been farming on this side lane. Sinclair's showing up, but this is just harassment play. He's going to be teleporting out of that. Yeah, no intention to really hard commit. A lot of the Guardians have fallen. Sharik, though, has been the one holding it down, and not only holding his Guardian, but getting very farmed in the meantime. Mid Guardian, the last one standing for one win team, where they're continuing to keep the lane shoved. They don't want to allow VP to siege and turn around, especially in that mid lane. I mean, we've seen how impactful that can be. Buffs are up now. It's like a spear buff. Aver's going to grab that. Not really the best spirit buff user, but I guess he does deny it away from GT. Beautiful swap, and is able to dodge the pin. Zania kites out of that, but is he caught by someone else? Someone on the high ground? Viscous, perhaps? Camping him in, and this should be enough. He's in big trouble and gets rolled on by T-Mob just for good measure. And Zenia is having the hardest game I have seen in weeks in DFN. He is getting just crushed in the early game. His farm's not terrible, but he's died like 5 times.
Yeah, that's the surprising part, is that his farm really isn't that terrible. I mean, he's actually ahead of a couple of different players on his team, only overshadowed by Empty Dreams and ABL. The urn has been picked up by Zergy. I'm assuming he's going to drop this off for someone, unless they want to rush in the skill point to get closer towards max out ability that he wants. A little bit of a dive coming onto Empty Dreams. That's a lot of damage being taken by Pocket here. He's been forced to retreat back towards his walker.
Oh, do they have the damage to finish off this Pocket? This would be a big kill. One that could potentially open up the first Guardian. And out of the frying pan, into the fire is Pocket. Ivy tanking the walker, taking huge damage there. But no one's there to punish, and Ivy looks like she might be able to just slip out and slink back to the rest of the squad. Even stealing some camps on our way out. So Ivy's doing like a mega greed run. Could be scary though. Interception path potentially available if you want to attempt it there.
Okay.
Deployed by Abrams, looking for a target though. And it's very awkward. Goes under tower, in big trouble. Huge connection now from Warden. He's killing off Sinclair first, not able to turn this fight around. Ulti has been already deployed. Huge value from this Warden ulti in the fight. VP though, a lot of their other teammates have dropped very low, and ABL is going to grab the urn. VP lost Sharik on the other side of the map. And so one-man team, despite that massive Warden ulti, seemed to do pretty decent in that engagement. A little bit scared to go for the turn-in though.
Pretty crazy that after all of that, it was only a 1-kill trade, and it wasn't even a trade in that fight. It was a trade somewhere else on the map. For one win to only lose 1 in that fight, I think they should be extremely happy for it, because that last stand could have been insanely scary. But we are taking a look at the items really quick. We still have Cultist being picked up here for ABL. Also has Headhunter. It's not much changing in terms of him with items that we were maybe expecting with the patch change. Then again, maybe it's just you're going to see Headhunter stick around on the heroes that it's exceptionally good for.
And one win team for the moment just holding on to that urn. I also think it's impressive that one win team have still kept up that mid guardian. And VP have snuck into a pretty decent soul lead. And while there's a bit of quiet time, maybe bring in ZP and think about how this early game has been breaking down thus far.
Yeah, I mean, so far I think you're VP. You're pretty happy with how the early game has gone here. I still think, from what I've seen, there's some questions in regards to like how good the talent is going to be, especially as the game goes on. But for one win, you're expecting at least keep things even here at the Bebop. It hasn't entirely been the case. And as you guys mentioned, I mean, your Abrams getting beaten up this bad in the early game is not great. Even though Zanya has like kept up reasonably in farm, it's a little bit tough because for one win, you know, I think right now your biggest saving grace is that ABL is good income allocation because the rest of your team struggling a little bit hard. And we'll see where it goes. But as I mentioned, the income allocation, ABL continuing to get cleanup kills. So one win could put themselves in a spot here where they're a little bit down the aggregate, but ABL just becomes the raid boss. And you know, as I say that, look, might be getting the paradox here as he moves up and over.
He doesn't have sack buff, and the execute fails. They're not able to get over the threshold. Michaela stays alive. That's a big kill, right? A shutdown on one of your most farm heroes. Empty Dreams is also having a pretty solid game on the pocket, but not really that frontline carry. Really a pick chosen more as a denial pick, but it's still working out really well for one win team, showing that maybe the reports of Pocket's death have been greatly exaggerated. Still looks like a pretty effective hero early game, mid game. And they get an urn turn in as well. It's kind of surprising one win team can get that in despite being down one. I guess the trade is finally that mid guardian is going to be knocked. And Viscous is sitting on almost 5k souls, so definitely going to have some big buys coming up here next. Maybe a duration buff, maybe some healing items. Gambas have just respawned as well, so expect to see teams prioritize farming that. And Abrams once again in big trouble. Birds coming in. VP are going to take this fight. Zergy has already used the ulti, trying to chase onto something. Wonder, not clear to me if this bird is going to get the connection. They are able to hit this Abrams, but maybe a little bit too deep for the follow-up. And the ults were kited there. Out of everyone. Kelvin, though, caught and finished off there. The goo ball couldn't be fully escaped.
Yeah, the Owl kind of separated Virtus.pro, or sorry, one win. The fight still continuing off the back of this. You can see that Opencam's trying to maintain position on the high ground, trying to push overseas out of this position as the size of Slam being used to just escape here at Azania. It looks like it will be a full retreat here out of one win. But you know, one big change we didn't really mention actually in the last patch is previous to that patch, they really nerfed hero bounties where they did the shop rework. They actually rebuffed it a little bit to make it so getting hero kills is actually worth a little bit more souls here, which is actually quite big, especially for teams that are well behind or ahead, to be fair. Let's try to get the catch on to Xenon. That'd be a relatively easy kill coming in from Michaelis. And Virtus.pro still looking to pick up this urn and run it across the map once again.
Kind of some miscommunication there out of one win team. Like, what is Xenon doing there? Like, he's just solo into 3 or 4 heroes. Like, no chance to take that fight at all. Warden gonna drop the urn, hit the shop. Quicksilver reload, Fleetfoot bots, just some quality of life items. I mean, I think these are actually some pretty key. This is a key moment for Warden where he can really start to put the pressure on the game a little bit more aggressively. He's got the fighting items that he needs. Listic goes down, drops a pretty fat bag. That's kind of a painful one to feed away to ABL, especially who is kind of like your most important hero for a one-win team right now. Although Pocket is even more farmed, I think ABL's performance is going to be more key to the ability to actually man fight into something like the Warden.
You know, we're talking about how Zanya was getting manhandled in the game. I mean, to be fair, Listic has as well for the most part when it came to late and still in this stage of the game. I guess the difference is that there is still a 2k soul advantage for Listic. He still has, you know, a decent front line with Shark, Zergy, and Dimov all there. So he's going to be allowed to just to do a lot of damage from the back lines. Whereas Zanya, he kind of needs to be tanky to be able to sit in the front line. Luckily, he does have the healing out of Flammable. But that's kind of it. Maybe the threat of ABL will leave Zanya to not actually be focused on in these fights.
The urn doing its best to juke Ivy. Can you stay in the air next to the urn for long enough? Oh my god, is this urn actually impossible to grab? That's crazy.
Gotta let it move.
I'm gonna head home just a little bit. Listic playing the Rubes. Has kind of struggled so far. Looks like he's going pretty much just a gun build on Great Talon. Maybe just a way to kind of force it to work. If your Spirit Nuking is not so strong right now, just gun. Shoot your gun, do damage to enemy is good. A lot of players are not here in this fight, so as though the fight has started off well for one-win team, getting Paradox quite low. VP have brought almost everyone to this fight. Zergy's going to be 1v2ing, trying to defend the Walker on the other side of the map. And the urn delivered there. That's a win. So far, so good now for VP. They're able to defend the mid lane. with the bird. Bit of damage going down though for one win team.
Zerg's trying to defend the walker push on the right-hand lane, forces out the last stand. Michaelis joins in as well, so they do have a 2-on-2, but we can see Overseas is in quick pursuit here, trying to push down the lane with the zip line. I think they're still looking to take this walker here, as they know the last stand's not there anymore. There's really no ultimates online. They might even go for the dive here on top of him.
Yeah, they hook him in. Big burst. The follow-up of that Hex. Immaculate there by one win team. A lot of more reinforcements, though, have showed up for Virtus.pro, although they don't have too many ultimates online. They have enough spam to clear the waves. Proves to be too risky to stay. And Xenia continuing to put pressure on this mid Guardian. Is solo, but has Chib coming in for backup. Chasing into this room. You can do that, but always definitely a scary proposition against Abrams. Looks like the ulti to hard escape is going to be the choice for now. Just taking the reset.
And those slowing bullets out of Listic are so frustrating. You saw how slow Zanya was to just move at all. He does have melee life still. I wonder if he's going to go for life strike on top of this. Is ABL going to be controlled here? Gets cursed up. A very early investment on Curse. He's getting stunned up constantly. The Bird going to come through to stun him as well.
Oh, four-man
and that was
Bird.
a huge connection on the 4 players, but that's the Frozen Shelter coming through to try to heal them up as ABL tries to go for the executes.
Will it be enough? Warden's coming in. Zergy could be massive in this fight. One win team is low on every single player. 2 already down. Zergy into the fight now with the ultimate, chasing, camping into the back. Mikhails finds the 3rd pick off. And it seems like the rest of the one win team are going to be able to escape and lick their wounds, but 3 massive kills, huge team fight right next to the mid boss. Of course, leads naturally into the objective. And VP win a decisive one, getting themselves a pretty significant advantage if they're able to secure this mid boss.
Look at Empty Dreams though. He's pushing the base Guardian, so this is going to give them 2 flex slots because they already got the Walker. If he gets these as well, this is actually a pretty big pickup for one win, to be fair. And if they can defend the push with the rejuve, it actually could come out ahead.
It's nice. I'm skeptical of flex slots in the current patch. I think they're not as broken as they used to be, but this rejuve needs to be secured. This is crucial for Virtus.pro. They've got to be able to secure this. They got a lot of stuns to drop on it. Blasted attempted there, steal attempted by Overseas, but both of them get punished. That's kind of the worst case scenario. Failed to steal, lose 2 kills. So there's a real opportunity for VP to re-push out on the map. They got 30 seconds of a power play on top of the rejuve to maybe take a walker down, open up some flex slots of their own. But you can see even Listic, he's just not even using all his slots. He just doesn't really even value them that high.
Yeah, I think actually you're right. Like rethinking about it, considering the flex slots are mostly used previously since you were limited to like 4 spirit items, 4 vitality items, and 4 gun items, and gave that extra spirit, etc. item that you wanted. So I think you're definitely right. If anything, at least it gives them a little bit of control in the right-hand lane. There's like a lot, it opens up a lot. And
it does mean like if you do win a fight, the base is a little bit more exposed, right? You can kind of run it down that side lane a little bit harder.
And I mean, also, if you can somehow push the creeps into the base, you then start to control the waves in other lanes because the minions will drop out earlier instead of later into the lane, if I'm not mistaken, because they'll get caught up. Or maybe the shrine. But I mean, I'm obviously
trying to bait the Overseas hook. He knows.
Here.
Nice read there from Ivy. Good awareness from Obakim. Doesn't get hooked into a compromising situation. Demon's rolling on Pocket, but I don't expect Pocket to be caught by that. That seems to be a bridge too far. Now VP up to the side. Do they want to commit and push this walker? Would they rather just back off? Ivy just passing through. He's a chill guy, just hanging out. Little survey of the map by Ivy.
Little lightning scroll action on top of the buildings. From the buildings, obviously. I mean, VP are trying to take control. Looking for that first walker, trying to pull one win in different directions so they have the advantage they do have against Empty Dreams in the right-hand lane. But Empty Dreams has a lot of souls on his side, currently sitting at 29,000. Still relatively healthy, just above half or just below half HP. He's been able to defend by himself, but he can't defend the left lane, which is just being overrun with a 3-man push out of VP.
Viscus is afflicted, so he's going to be pretty low. Does have the heal. They need to save Michaelis. Doesn't have cube for him. Just have to try and turn this around. Empty Dreams maybe has overextended this one just a little bit. Ultimate's almost online. Goo Boy incredibly close. Going to play his way out with the punch for the moment. Saving the cube as well. Michaelis, Listic, Demov all incredibly low across the map. One-man team. But the trades now coming in 1 for 1, 2 for 1. And caught in with the Shiv is a scary spot to be even for Warden. Doesn't have the ulti. Really doesn't have the way to fight this one out. Trying to just play his way out of it. Juking. Surviving for the moment. He's got a little bit of bleed on him. Surely the follow-up is going to be there. Zergy, no way he could get out of this. Kelvin's hunting him down, trying to chase. But the heal is there from the Ivy, and Zergy, I cannot believe he escaped that.
Was that a Vortex web out of Obikim? Maybe I didn't actually see if Obikim has that item picked up, but it looked like there was a Vortex web.
He does, yeah, he has a Vortex web.
Okay, so that actually helped him escape right there quite desperately, considering it pulled them away from trying to get on the high ground. A last-second save, phenomenal job by Obakin, and of course Zergy escaping that one. But
Vortex with Ivy's pretty sick, actually, right? Like pulling people in for your stun. Then there's like something like the follow-up from the bird, or the roll, or just Warden's damage. Kind of an interesting pickup here. I kind of like it in this setup. There's a lot of like bog ground damage here from VP, whether it's the Ivy, whether it's the Warden, or the Spirit Snare, the KLS with the Pulse Grenade. There's a lot of like annoying crap that's going to be on the ground. And so as tanky and annoying as this one-man team is with their heavy front line, fighting into the bog could be a little bit scary.
See, has Zanya been able to bounce back? 21,000. Able to get ahead of Overseas, Xenon, and Flambeau, but for
he's
one
okay, but he's not where he would want to be. He's kind of middle to low on the game, where I think Abrams does want to be ahead. I think it is forcing him as well on Xenia to build a little bit more utility. Harder to build like gun damage when you're behind like this. And Ivy's going in for a pretty heavy spirit damage build here. Curious to see if he goes rapid recharge. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have that item with how good the first skill is on Ivy.
Well, for M1 win, a lot of their souls are invested in AB on Empty Dreams. So if you can get an initial catch or kill onto any of those two players, it is going to be horrible for Owen that the fight's not going to work out unless maybe Empty Dreams gets a massive affliction off onto all 6 players. And that's all they really need, I think, for VP is just that one kill onto one of their 2 carries. The problem is there's a lot of support to help them stay alive. You've got the Bebop pulling them away. You got the healing and the Frozen Shelter out of Flammable on the Kelvin. I mean, even Xenon can Hex on top of you to keep you alive if anyone dives you. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Oh, great Talon. Misses the jump, but does make it on the second attempt. And now it's Abrams who's in trouble. Trying to TP out, but the swap misses, it looks like, so they're not going to be able to stop him from TPing out. We got the debuff remover as well.
He's going back.
Gonna teleport back in, trying to re-engage. That's a little bit crazy, no? Thinking about it as though VP is kind of continuing on that fight. Phantom Strike picked up now for D-Mob. It's going to enable him to potentially break that Overseas laser with the goo ball.
That's pretty big, actually. Cooldown reduction for his cube. Oh, no. Oh, wait, what?
Another miss on the pin. Tough spot to be now for Abrams, getting absolutely swarmed, surrounded, hit from all sides. The roll and no help is forthwith. One-win team get the nice... or rather, Virtus.pro get the nice opener onto one-win team, and that's going to be an opportunity to pick up the urn and look for a turn-in as well. This is sort of what they've been forcing now for a few minutes, is finding a pick-off, turning it into a power play. One-win team have not been able to really execute on the vision of the draft with like Shiv and Abrams and Pocket frontlining with help of Kelvin. It's felt awkward for them to initiate these team fights, and that comes back to the one big advantage in the draft for VP is getting the Paradox and banning the Holiday.
Wait, did they miss time mid-boss?
Yeah, it looks like so. I don't think there's any reason to be down here with the whole team.
I was like, did we miss time?
Maybe they had like 1 minute off.
It's that awkward moment where, like, if you're the person timing it for your team's just like, what the hell's going on?
They're pre-meleeing it. They think it is like spawning right now and is not spawning for 30 seconds. Like, I think they were off by 1 minute or something, and they thought maybe we're off by 30 seconds. But Veilwalker for Bebop, looking to maybe grab someone, pull them out of this rotation. Could be the opening that you need for one-win team. You're at full strength here. Everyone's online. Swap has missed as well for Paradox. Kelvin and Shiv are not here though, so yeah, you are just giving up the urn with the cube, guaranteeing that. By D-Mob. D-Mob's looking for more. He's flying in, rolling in with Phantom Strike, trying to connect, and Overseas gets punished. There's the mid-boss spawning. Perfect timing by production. They're flexing on them, letting them know they had the perfect timing with the picture-in-picture.
Maybe it gets mid-walker though, so that, again, another flex slot opened up. They have actually all their flex slots open, but are they gonna have the souls to spend it on is gonna be another question. And VP, I feel like you can just kind of force the fight here. What's realistically gonna steal it away? I mean, Zanya is squishy as paper, so is Xenon. Empty Dreams is dead. That's one of their big carries. Like, Virtus.pro should easily be able to take this.
I think you might need to attempt this for one-win team. It's so scary. You're right. I don't even know if Zanya has max ult. He'd need it to get the unstoppable to be able to leverage this. They're gonna go for it though. Looks like they're setting up surrounding, bringing everyone, making this fight happen. Spirit Snare, though, crucially punishes them, and they're fighting now inside the dome against the threat from Zergy is massive here. You cannot stand toe-to-toe with him. The last hit, so crucial. Parrying, but the connection, one-win team. They get the last hit. It's going to take an entire team wipe to accomplish it. Very, very expensive fight, but the reju does mean mitigate some of that massive push threat that VP would have loved to visit on the base, but a 6-man team wipe, I don't know if that's worth it, Jason. That's very expensive.
I gotta respect the well played though out of Michaelis. I mean, one win, if you guys don't remember, used to spam well played every time they did something well or caught an enemy off guard. I mean, yeah, you steal away the rejuvenator, but they get the kills on you, and they're gonna be able to push the base as well, taking down the second walker, freeing up another flex stop for themselves. Spellslinger headshots picked up here for Zergy. He's starting to hit some like really critical mass. 37,000 souls.
Seriously, he's really
respawning back in,
playing for the spear damage. Like his ulti, like I really love this build this game that he's investing into the lightning scroll and the spellslinger, because it makes him really powerful at actually fighting into the Kelvin Dome, into the Shiv. Like these heavy sustained characters like you know, Shiv and Abrams with Kelvin, he can deal with that. He can continue to just pump damage, pump skills on them one after another. Cursed by Michaelis onto the Bebop, denies some of the follow-up. It's going to allow him to escape from that fight. Remember, one of the team still have 3 rejuves here. Shiv, though, he does not have a rejuve. But the debuff remover is enough to slip him out with the help of the warp stone. He's going to be happy about that one, just able to survive and take the reset.
And Demo is just a menace, like warp stoning on people for the double stuns. He just needs to learn how to channel that Goomba stomp that we had in the last game.
He's got max cube too. He actually did max cube, going for the counter to Pocket, actually able to cleanse off the ultimate, I believe. I mean, debuff remover doesn't work on ultimates, but I didn't see anything in the patch notes about the cube no longer working on it. And that's a very low cooldown too in this build, so he's going to have a lot of cubes in these team fights. It's going to be a little bit scary for one win team to be committing to finish kills.
I wonder if like our VP actually gonna like, I think is all their lanes are pushing against him again with that right lane Guardians already being taken out at the base. They definitely can't leave that free.
Buffs in 30. Spellbaker being grabbed by Pocket. I don't think we've seen that. I don't think I've seen that one build yet.
I don't think we've seen it really in any of the games just yet.
Seems like one win team are bringing all 6 players to this fight, and Zergy is not here. One of the key components for the VP squad. They could be finding themselves in a 6-on-5 engagement. Abrams opening with the ulti, maybe looking to set up for the unstoppable, trying to get that buff off. Isn't going to be able to grab it for the moment, and the ball is absolutely crunching them there in the high ground. Zergy is teleported over, coming into this engagement as well. First kill, though, already found by ABL, is getting the reset on the ulti. Zergy is here, though, ready to fight at full power. Swap comes in, nuking down Zandia, mitigating his potential to continue into the fight. Zergy ulting, chasing them all down. They're running for the hills. They're trying to outlast this Warden ulti, but can they? Everyone's so low on one win team. Zergy has to fight this one out pretty much solo. He's dropping low, but so are the threats on one win team. This is the real one, the biggest challenge of them all. ABL coming to take the test. They do get that cage lockdown on him. It's going to delay for the moment. I think they're wise to back out of this with those rejuve respawns overseas already going to be up into that next team fight.
This is the hardest part for like Zergy on the Warden, is that like, yeah, you might be like really fed, you might have a lot of damage, but if you're fighting in like different levels of verticality, your ultimate's not really going to connect onto different people. If there's buildings to play in, they can hide from the majority of your damage. You need to fight more of like in an open area, more flat ground to make these last stands do the damage, especially if you've invested so heavily into it with the lightning scroll attached to it and the cooldown. I mean, he still has a lot of gun damage, let's be fair, but the big part of his kit right now is going to be that ultimate, and if they can avoid most of that damage, then it's not really going to amount to much.
The comeback run is really nice as well for one win team. They're starting to close the gap on that soul deficit. The rejuve no finally expired. There's a moment here where you can kind of keep the fight going. Boundless now for Empty Dreams. Okay, the Pocket is, we can't ignore this. This Pocket is getting to a ridiculous power level, and Curse now picked up by Overseas as well. So the pickoff threat, the team fight damage threat, both of them have been heavily amplified with these 6K items now coming on board for one win team. Zergy's gonna have his work cut out for him, especially with a Curse, right? Like no matter how farmed you are, getting Cursed, getting full focused on is a huge problem.
A Siphon Bolt's going to be, even with his recent changes in the last, what, half an hour, so it'll be pretty strong for him at this point, getting him extra tanky in these fights. 45,000 souls. I mean, you look at the other side, if he catches Overseas Flammable, Xenon, Zanya, like those are going to be some guaranteed kills. But Xenon, speaking of, gets caught out here, and that was honestly a big player they needed, because that ultimate out of him, if he could steal away that last stand, would be doing some serious work. And Obikin picking up Lightning Scroll now? I thought he had it. Oh, no, he had Vortex Web earlier. Now he has Lightning Scroll. Oh, God, you're just going to get stunned.
Zergy has Lightning Scroll too, so The bog is getting really scary. The amount of stuns and controls that these skills are going to be able to provide. The D push as well. It's going to be very awkward to, like, they're so good at clearing waves on VP without really committing their bodies to it. One win team, I don't think they have that level. It's like Pocket can kind of do that level of wave clear, but no one else is that solid at it. Curse onto the Kelvin, trying to shut him down. They kill him, but he does get the ulti off, so delaying for a moment. Big connection from the Pocket ulti. Empty Dreams just wants to take this fight despite being down 2. Cube looks like Purge one of those afflictions off. Zergy looking for more, trying to catch. Is that a knockdown? Oh no, Pocket just barely jumped off in time. Very close to getting knocked off the zip. And the mid boss has spawned. Perfect timing.
Without Flammable up, I don't think you can really even contest this for one win. Like, how realistically, you have to send too many bodies in there to hope for another steal. What the respawn time is, what they're currently at. If you don't get that steal, you're looking at a loss. Like, you're looking at your base being ripped to shreds.
Yeah, this is looking devastating. D-Mob, though, getting assaulted, in some trouble on the high ground, forced into a roll, but I guess he's not too mad about that. He does have the Arctic Blast online as well, so has a lot of CC connections. Going to be an attempted steal here, potentially from one win. The Shiv poking his head in, trying to show some kind of presence, show some kind of a threat. The execute for ABL is good onto D-Mob. Overplayed his hand. Now Abrams in over the top with the ulti, trying to get in, trying to get this last hit. The pin not quite enough to get the connection, and he just barely comes back with a long-range melee. Abrams, once again, one win team snatch away the rejuve. VP not quite as strong as they were the last time this happened. Big affliction there comes in from Empty Dreams, but he gets instantly nuked down, finished off. Mikhail S gets that last hit secured. And Zergy, despite the affliction, continuing to fight on. Looks like he didn't get afflicted, and Shiv in trouble. And so, okay, another time it might be a big cleanup. The bird secures it from Listic. But I cannot believe Zania got that last hit. I mean, all the VP members were waiting around the region for so long. It seemed like maybe they were all parrying. No one was going for the finish. Just too much chaos in that moment.
There was 2 players sitting on the rejuve that weren't stunned. Were they both parrying? I don't understand how he actually pulls that off. Maybe we can get a replay of it, or we'll see it in the highlights. But that still should never have happened. And it keeps one win alive. I talked about, like, the upside is you steal away the rejuve, downside you could potentially lose the map here. And they might even be able to get a catch on the Listic, who's just trying to run away for his dear life.
Yeah, catching Listic pretty important. Spear Snare going to be just too hard to punish on this Kelvin.
So I got a replay. I'm gonna get in here and say what it was. On the replay, it was hard to catch in the moment. It was the Rabbit Hex. Xenon landed a perfect Rabbit Hex, which gave Zanya just enough time to come in and actually get the Rejuvenator, is what happened. So Xenon was the hero there. It was all Sinclair timing.
Zergy's been scouted there in the high ground. Still a scary spot to be. Xenon finds Listic. Zergy, though, does have that ulti if he wants to fight. Down 2, though, feels like a difficult moment. D-Mob's rolling in from the flank, though. They're going to go for this. Zergy coming in with the ulti as well. They're trying to escape this lightning scroll onto the Kelvin. The debuff remover, perfect in the moment. Stabilize him, gets him potentially out, but he's trapped. Looks like in his own dome here. Perfect timing, drops the dome just in the moment to get out, to slip away. One win team, despite being up, players are on the retreat right now. Will it last forever? Kelvin may have just slipped the net.
With the Urn turn in here, that's going to help out quite a bit. I mean, they were looking really worse for wear here, but these, like, back-to-back turn-ins now with the rejuve steals is keeping them in the game as they're actually on the hunt here. Zanya just teleporting between the right and the left-hand lane, waiting for his team to actually regroup in, and they're going to be here in just a few seconds. Oh my god, please don't die, Zanya. After a great steal, you don't want to have a blunder of a play.
I think it's nice keeping back in. The rest of the team's here, but VP wants this fight. They don't have that many ultimates, but Zergy, the cooldown reduction is massive. He already almost has that ultimate up again. I wonder if one win team are going to be ready for him to be able to turn the fight around as quickly. ABL threatening a flank initiate. Pocket has all the tools he needs as well. Silencer making it very awkward here for Pocket. Doesn't TP out with the cloak. And Zania forced into a pretty defensive use of that Abrams ult, falling back. Zergy now coming in with the ulti himself, trying to find some connections, trying to catch off and finish some of these last players. The roll absolutely camping on ABL, a tragic place to be caught by the Viscous. And VP have not backed down whatsoever. They've continued to hold on to this last standing walker. They've continued to take these fights time and time again. And so far, the one-man team, despite these big rejuve seals, they haven't been able to crack the code and win some of those external team fights.
Credit to Mikhail S there, though. You saw, obviously, the stuns coming out of D-Mob, but he gets to swap out of ABL to pull him back into the team to confirm that kill. I'm actually wondering, like, where are the rescue beams at for one win? I know I saw Zanya have...
That's a good point. Rescue beam would be nice here.
Yeah, because like when AB gets caught in enemy territory, gets locked out by Binding Word, he's just not going to go anywhere. He's not going to be able to get away.
Flammable's the
especially
one
with slowly
who
next.
would build it. Does he have a rescue beam on Flammable? It's kind of surprising if he didn't have it. It's
No,
such
I don't think they have any.
a big item.
We have one in Obikin, but not for one win, I think.
The Vortex Web, just barely not enough to catch Enia, who maybe has slipped the net here. Although the rest of the team is there, they're pulling him down. He goes for the counter pin, but gets stunned now, and so many players swarming over him with the curse. He's so tanky on this Abrams, ridiculously tanky. The fact that 5 heroes are shooting him there for a few seconds and he doesn't go down that quick is pretty wild. He is building towards a pretty insane late game potential threat. But finally, BP have waves pushing on the other side of the map. They have a pretty solid, still a 30k soul lead, despite all the chaos that OneWin has injected into this match. And they're going to try and push for some base guardians.
A shark on like almost 7,000 souls too. A hook comes through
deep
back
hook.
into the throne.
Curse, there's new roofs here that I guarantee no one has seen yet because these players have not been to a base yet. The little high grounds above the near the patron. The roll from Demon made a lot of space. Ultimate from Zergy covering the retreat. Stolen ulti though, but Flammable, or Xenon rather, you cannot come into this. Way too deadly, way too much threat now being put out from the Warden. 2 kills, 1 shrine down, but VP low on a lot of players. It's a scary moment for them. Continuing to push would be very risky, and ABL knows it. He knows they want to back off. He does get swapped, forced to full kite, needs a lot of those healing Novas. Seems like both teams are all right with just taking the reset, but VP got a nice bite out of the apple there on OneWin team. And this time, they've timed the mid-boss perfectly. They're here. Still 60 seconds on Xenon. So you're not going to have to deal with the Rabbit Hex. You're not going to deal with Abrams. These are your 2 best Rejuve stealers, and you don't have either of them. Empty Dreams is thinking about doing something tricky here, but it's so difficult.
I feel like there was a lightning scroll stun on the Xenon to prevent the last 10 from coming out too. But here we go. A 3rd time in a row. Can OneWin potentially still Rejuve for the 3rd time in this match? Is going to be going back in for it once again. The Vortex Web pulls them through, but Zergy's going to be able to lock it down, and that Vortex Web's going to be doing work. It doesn't matter if you have a frozen shelter when you're trapped in the Spider's Web. And Virtus.pro are finally going to get the break they needed here in a clean take on Rejuve, and most likely the game.
Zergy just pumping damage now, has the chase down, and you're right, this should just be the game. Everyone's surviving for VP, and those low health bars, don't worry, the heal Novas are ready. Gonna continue to shove down this lane, and Zergy has really hit a power peak on Warden. Just looks untouchable in the last couple team fights. No one has been able to challenge him. Crushing fist up for Xenon, but it's a 2v6 with a massive soul deficit to boot. There's gonna be a copy immediately used on Warden if you want to go for that Warden ultimate. I'm not convinced Xenon can really stand toe-to-toe with the full power of Virtus.pro. They're gonna drop this first layer patron. The question is, do they stick around or do they back off to run urns? So 30 seconds on ABL, 30 seconds on Empty Dreams. I think VP can do this.
You do it. Yeah, you don't back away from this one. You're going to have ultis coming online as well. You have the power of Listic from behind. You have the last tank coming through on top of this. I don't know what you're going to really do with this as you go in Zanya, but you have to try to hold on as the patron is falling down below 50% HP, and it's continuing to fall one by one as finally Virtus.pro should be able to close this out. The frozen shelter comes in, but realistically, what are they going to do? The respawns ABL 2 seconds time. Maybe actually come in and get the executes, but you're going to focus the patron down, and Virtus.pro will just barely hold on, defend their throne once again here. This time up against OneWin, and they take it in 3.
Zergy puts a new feather in his cap there. Great performance on the Warden. The rest of VP immaculately team fighting around that. And the fact that they're able to make this defense of their throne is pretty impressive for me. Given how strong OneWin team looked in game 1 of the series, I was a little bit worried about VP. I thought maybe I had overrated them. Maybe I had thought that they were more untouchable than they really were. But they came in there in games 2, games 3, look super solid, great performances across the board. I'm thinking about as well, the Viscous was particularly great there for VP. They were able to grab the Paradox and the Viscous, and both were able to be key playmakers in this game, making it really difficult. Xenia got the Abrams, got maybe the hero of the patch, but got absolutely destroyed in lane and could never quite hit that power peak. Abrams, the hero that would love to be ahead of the game, would love to be snowballing it, and he was kind of always playing from a little bit behind. Incredible rejuve steals though from OneWin to like make this game go as long as it did. I mean, if VP gets any of those rejuves, maybe they could have ended the game quite a bit earlier. So OneWin team, great playmaking, great individual skill to be able to hang on that long by the skin of their teeth.
And credit to Listic too, because he got destroyed in lane, getting hooked constantly time and time again, but he did come back to be a big powerhouse damage dealer for the team, sitting at about like 45,000 souls really put in the damage, especially towards the end there. But yeah, I completely agree. If Virtus.pro doesn't get 2 of those rejuice stolen, it probably would have been over quicker, but credit to OneWin to hold on as long as they possibly did. And credit to our third man here on the desk to hold on as long as he has been to get his thoughts on this game, because honestly, that was a hell of a match for ZP.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really back and forth. And I think the one thing you saw here is that even though it went against them, I really do think OneWin as a team, their fundamental play has gone way, way better over time. I mean, some of the steals they were able to do there were very tough situations and yet perfectly timed all the while. I will say, in terms of late game scaling, while there's kind of some doubts about, oh, you're running the great talent isn't all that great. And, I think you could still argue whether or not the great talent was really worthwhile, even though Listic did have that just one absolutely ridiculous owl in the mid game. I don't know. As I look at this, I still think I'm not 100% believer in Bebop in the current time. I think, like, you look at the rest of the scaling, there were points where ABL and Empty Dreams especially were way, way ahead of the game for OneWin, but overall team-wise, the team power was lacking, and I think unless Bebop just gets the most ridiculous amount of hooks over the course of the game, you'll probably wonder, like, man, maybe we should have gone somewhere else, which, if you think back to the very beginning of the draft, the fact is that VP decided initiation is king. They early picked Paradox, and value-wise, OneWin says, we don't need the value of the holiday. And I do look back and wonder, as good as things like, say, Shiv and Abrams may be, is there a problem if you don't grab a holiday early in the draft in that sort of situation? I think the answer may be yes.
I think it's a great point. I think we've seen a lot of teams struggle with the lack of a true initiator. Bebop just isn't the same type of hero as the Paradox, as the holidays. They're so much more consistent. I mean, Bebop's a little bit more of like that low percentage, high reward hook, but you don't have that, like, we've opened with a stun, we've got a setup on them, now bring them in and pull them out of position. Bebop, it just feels that also your hero individually is pretty vulnerable, right? Like, you're a little bit scared to put yourself on the line and really take that fight. You don't really have survivability skills the way Holiday can play her way out of things. Paradox has the time wall to kind of be tricky and can kind of bog people down with the time grenade as well. So I think you're right about that, CP. That is pretty high prio. I'm still very impressed that VP were able to get it over the line against Shiv, Abrams, Kelvin. I think that combo looked devastating, but we got to give a lot of props to Zergy, who, when we look at the stat screen, had one of the craziest stat screens we have maybe ever seen in DFN history.
Yeah, I mean, look, and this is also, I mean, okay, it's on Warden. There's a little bit of inflation here. Like, anytime you look at Warden, kind of similar to like some of the old pocket metas, you're doing a little bit more damage. Like, you're stat padding a bit the way Last Stand works. But regardless, Zergy still had an enormous impact on the game that you can't just attribute the stat padding at the very end. I think Warden right now has definitely been one of the biggest beneficiaries of the item changes. I think you could build him to be generally not only stronger in the late game, but you get to the late game in a more concrete way. And this is, don't forget too, this is against a Sinclair, where Xenon wasn't actually able to get a ton of great audience participations off to, punish VP for going with the early Warden pick. So yeah, Warden is back. And also, I think right now, Warden's power also goes up pretty dramatically when you don't have a Wraith in the game. The fact is that Wraith is kind of like the overpowering late game pick at the moment. And this was the only game of the series where Wraith wasn't available, because I think very wisely what OneWin did in the draft is that they realized we don't have first pick. We need to get rid of Wraith. We don't want Wraith to go over to VP. But they end up giving up the Warden, and Warden may be just as big of a pain at times when other power picks are off the table.
Warden has looked pretty amazing, but we're gonna have to look now. Up next is our MVP selection. So ZP, tell us who you went with here for our MVP.
Look, I think it's easy to kind of look at your carries and be like, it's a carry. But in this case, who is the glue behind the team in both maps of VP1? For me, it's Dimov. It's got to be Dimov, who is our intel player of the match.
Not the glue, the goo behind the squad.
Yeah, the gooey glue, as it were. And yes, exactly. And I mean, the setups that Dimov was getting were just really, really good. I mean, cubes that were on point. And there was also, you think back to that one goo ball in the doorway where I think Dimov, like, warp stoned in to the hallway. They just get like the most perfect goo ball bounce chain you could ever imagine. I mean, I don't know. Dimov is a player that we praise a lot here in DFN, and there's good reason. Regardless of what role Dimov is in, Dimov still finds good opportunities. Even here in the Dynamo, in a game that VP was just getting their clock cleaned for most of it.
Yeah, I think even game one, he was very solid. shows 3 different heroes throughout the series, was massive on the Holiday. Like in particular, Holiday Game 2 was game-changing. A lot of these fights got very scrappy with both teams losing key players, both teams dropping numbers, and DMob was able to consistently, I think, play his way into the later stages of the fights, and that's where the Holiday can really shine beyond the lasso, just the potential playmaking, the threat. And then, of course, I love the decision in Game 3 to max Cube after the splatter, right? Which I think is rarely seen. I almost always see people maxing the goo ball second, maybe even the punch. But DMob really valued the threat that Cube has to deal with the pocket in the late game. So as farmed as Empty Dreams gets, no matter how farmed you get on pocket, in the end, you are kind of relying on your ultimate, right? You're relying on Affliction to be the heavy lifting for your damage. And if you can just save a key target from that with Cube, it's a game-changing situation for the late game.
That little play right there of just like getting the kill onto Xenon under the walker and getting there in time to cube up Mikhail so he doesn't die to the charge of the Zanya, plus the Healing Nova. I mean, the movement out of DMob, the decision making out of DMob, I still say to this day he is probably the most solid player on Virtus.pro's squad because I never see him have a bad game.
Yeah, big hero diversity, lots of spirit nuking builds here coming out across the board. Viscous, I mean, I'm gonna go to my pubs and play this Viscous build. This looks really sick. A lot of team play utility. You're still relying on like your team fight is still really powerful off of your ulti, but you also have pretty massive nuking potential and control for the late game, becoming this huge team fight threat, especially once you get that Arctic Blast and the Spirit Burn with the extra duration. Very, very challenging to be playing into this. So well played by DMob across the board. 3 impressive games back to back to back. Even the losing game looking solid.
Yeah, and I mean, look, a team like VP to continually win the way they have over the course of Deadlock. I mean, this is Deadlock Fight Night 26 here in Europe, and I believe well over half, likely more, have been won by VP. They have had their periods of downtime, but this is a team where they've kept the core together, you know, all the way since their Buff Enjoyers days, and they just get better and better. And you don't get that without having very, very reliable players. And look, DMob, the best of the best there, and you know, especially you're looking right now is be like, you know, after watching some Deadlock Fight Night, I want to get some Deadlock games in. Well, you might want to look at the Holiday and Viscous builds that are being done here because they're quite good. Where something to note too, in terms of Holiday changing over time, is just the fact that Holiday now will build less gun nowadays, but it's more of a spirit build Holiday that you've been seeing, you know, with the gun, you know, maybe being Warpstone, and you know, it's kind of a shift in the new item system for what you would normally have expected previously.
Yeah, definitely building for that spirit nuking. Let's take one quick look though at the schedule. That's EU wrapping up for now, but we do have our NA games up next. It's going to be Hydra Nation taking on Valhalla in the Challenger match. That'll be up next once we get started in NA. And of course, the winner of that match earns the right to face off against Melee Creeps, our defending champion, defending that title belt that they've been holding on to for quite a while. As much as Hydra Nation had a very long run of dominance, Melee Creeps have been the team that have started to cement themselves as the best in the North American scene right now for quite a few weeks in a row. And they've looked really solid. They have a lot of hero diversity. I'm curious to see what they show next, especially with that last second new patch with all the Healing Nova purchases. I'm just always curious to see. NA tends to have a very different vision of the game, although maybe they're converging just a little bit in these last couple weeks with the item change coming into the game. But of course, all of this whole show would not be possible without our presenting sponsor, Intel. So shout out to Intel for making this all possible. And of course, we love Intel. They're also showing some love to you, the community, another key part of this broadcast. They're doing a giveaway. You can go to deadlockfightnight.com, put your hat in the ring, see your opportunity to maybe win a new CPU, get updated. You want to get into those Deadlock games, you want to load just a little bit quicker off the start of the game, then of course, get your name in there. It's a free giveaway. You might as well give it a shot.
Yeah, I agree. In the break that's coming up between now and the NA matches, I'm gonna go enter myself. I'm gonna head to deadlockfightnight.com.
Definitely do.
There's no rule that Jason can't enter, but I can't promise that if Jason did win, we wouldn't just go like go to the next one on the list. You know, Jason, that's up to the will of Hex, really, who is the one running the giveaway.
I feel like everyone, even if it happened randomly, no one would ever trust us if one of us won the giveaway. I feel like that's bad juju if you win the giveaway, man.
Exactly.
You don't want that. You don't want that in your life. But of course, what we do want in our lives is some NA Deadlock. And I know a lot of fans in the chat can't wait to get that started. So we're going to send it to a quick break. When we come back, we'll be jumping in with that challenger match in North America. Thank you so much for watching EU Deadlock Fight.